from other countries, neighboring countries, the landlord countries, coming to pick cargo from the ports, and they don't respect our Azil load regime. Look at all these vehicles parked here, and they park here hours on end. My information is that some of them are now going through the documentation process at the port. So they could park on the shoulders of the road for more than 24 hours. And the pressure on the road, they have destroyed the shoulders of our roads. And when they come onto the road itself, because of the unauthorized Azil load that they carry, the roads that we spend our hard-earned money to build, they destroy them. And my information is that they cannot do same in their own countries. The French-speaking countries, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, and so on. When they get to the borders, Paga, they offload part of their cargo before they enter those countries. But in our country, we have Azil road centers. They load from the port. There's supposed to be an Azil road center there. We have barriers on our road. The customs people are manning some of the barriers. The police are manning the barriers, but they get free access through our corridor. What are we doing to our country? Because of bribery and corruption. And we are the same people who called on the president, who called on government to fix the country. But all these vehicles with unauthorized weight, Azil load, they overload their Azil. Every day they manage to pass through our corridor, our central corridor, to join the other neighboring countries. I am calling on Ministry of Transport, my colleague Minister of Transport. I am going to work hand in hand with him. I am calling on the police and everybody, those who work at the port. Please, this is our country and we should be serious. All the monies that people are so engulfed in it, to make whatever money, I don't know what people want. We will die and leave everything behind. All of us, those who came before us, much area, are all gone. We had big names. People with money, with wealth, with what are they? What are they? And they left all behind. What kind of, I don't want to use the word, but look at what we are seeing. And we are citizens of this country. And these drivers, what they cannot do in their own countries, they do it here with impunity. Because we have some of our unpatriotic brothers and sisters who prefer money to protecting our road infrastructure. Because people want money in their pockets. There are people in my own ministry who are involved in this kind of thing. We have a number of Azil road centers from here to Paga, a number of them, but they pass through. We have fought this war all these years, and we don't seem to win. There are a lot of corrupt people, there are a lot of thieves in my own ministry. You sack them, you employ new ones, and when they come, the new ones are even worse than those that you sack. What sort of country are we building? for ourselves.
Do you think they should be paying for?
But whether they have to pay for or not, somebody should apprehend them first. Who is apprehending them? Who is apprehending them? And if they are driving, whether in the day or in the night, you and I are not there, will not be there. You will be working. I will be working. Those whose duty it is to check them and apprehend them are disappointing this nation. Look at all this, and the weight. This, I expect that, surprisingly, the police should come in and arrest all the drivers, arrest all of them.
Well, this is your Election Command Center, and this is the special edition of Key Point here on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. And for us here on Key Point, together with you, our guests, we want to thank you so much for making this program as interactive, engaging, authoritative as possible. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am Alfred Okanse. On behalf of the rest of the team, welcome. This morning, the new Patriotic Party super delegates, you can call them special delegates, less than 1,000 of them, some 961, would have the responsibility of whittling down the numbers of persons who have expressed their intentions to contest as flag bearers of the NPP from 10 to 5. There's a history to this, which we'll be getting into as we go on the discussion, despite the concerns that were raised by some other persons about this whole super delegates or special delegates Congress structure in the Article 13(9) of the NPP Constitution. Well, they've pushed it through regardless. But then again, there are other issues coming up, which we're going to be getting into this morning. So stay with us here on your Election Command Center. Apart from that, what you just heard the Roads Minister talk about, the lamentations that we have seen over time from ministers of state, government officials, about the issues and challenges of this country when they are the ones who are being paid to lead the process of solving these problems. We'll have a conversation beyond the lamentations. What has to be done? What should he do? We'll talk about it this morning. Also, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, earlier in the week raised concerns about the police's directive that their expected protest on the 5th of September would not lead them to the Bank of Ghana premises. The police says, yes, we agree with you, but then your route for this protest march on the September 5 would not be one that would lead you to the central bank. Well, the leadership of the minority says, you know what, we do not agree with you. We want the governor of the central bank to be the one to receive our petition on that day. We'll have a conversation, see if there's going to be a middle ground somewhere in there. These are the issues that are of concern to you, the Ghanaian people, and together with my guests, we'll go straight to the point here on Key Point. Welcome. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. My guests will be joining me in studio. I am Alfred Okanse. Thank you for joining us. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
It does get better anytime your favorite shop, Melcom, says it's there for you and got you covered with all your daily need items. Continue shopping on products ranging from groceries, stationery, electronics, homeware, kitchenware, furniture, home decor, electrical, and many more at low prices. Terms and conditions apply. Melcom, where Ghana shops.
Oh no.
Mommy, hurry up.
We are out of cereal and there's no time to make something else.
Good morning, honey. What's the panic?
We are running late and I don't have anything for Kojo's breakfast.
Fear not. I've got just the right thing for you.
McBerry breakfast cereal biscuits. I've heard great things about it.
Biscuit for breakfast?
Yes.
McBerry breakfast cereal biscuits are made with goodness of cereals and milk for a good start to your day.
Wow, Mom, this is delicious. Oh, Mom, can we have this every day?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Why not?
You
So let's hurry.
Start your day with a smile and McBerry breakfast cereal biscuits. Goodness for your mornings. This advert is FDA approved.
You feel adrift as you transition into a new stage of your life. The future seems like a blank space until you discover the passion within. The canvas of the future is yours to paint. Welcome to a world of opportunities. Heritage Christian College, offering world-class university education, training compassionate entrepreneurial leaders.
Boga Fontina bo. Boga Fontina ya bigo.
Mabagana. No, Mabagana.
Who this guy do over there?
The get from go free.
Bravo.
Hey, I did it in here.
Onye mi bako sa senya.
Hey, woman, baby, call it down, Ajay.
Papa, this is Bigo Cola. Tasting here big.
This is so refreshing.
You've never changed in value.
Oh no.
Let's make the party begin!
Let's go!
Bigo Cola. Bigo Cola. You don't want them, they come, and they want them. Cola for the party, Bigo for your hunger.
Enjoy the big refreshing moments with Bigo Cola.
This advert is FDA approved.
This Saturday on Fisheries Eye at 6:55 p.m. on TV3. Unveil the harsh realities faced by vulnerable girls in Keji, a tranquil fishing community nestled within the Keta municipality of the Volta region. Cases of teenage pregnancy have shed light on a deeply concerning issue: how financial struggles drive young lives to the edge. Fisheries Eye brings to our viewers the harrowing experiences of marginalized voices in our fishing communities where dreams meet challenges. This and every Friday and Saturday at 6:55 p.m. only on TV3. Fisheries Eye is funded by the USAID from the American people.
Members of the press, you see the harm we are doing to our country. All of us and our government is spending millions and billions of money to fix our roads. You know, we get transporters from other countries, neighboring countries, the landlocked countries, coming to pick cargo from the ports, and they don't respect our Azil load regime. Look at all these vehicles parked here, and they park here hours on end. My information is that some of them are now going through the documentation process at the port. So they could park on the shoulders of the road for more than 24 hours. And the pressure on the road, they have destroyed the shoulders of our roads. And when they come onto the road itself, because of the unauthorized Azil load that they carry, the roads that we spend our hard-earned money to build, they destroy them. And my information is that they cannot do same in their own countries, the French-speaking countries, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, and so on. When they get to the borders, Paga, they offload part of their cargo before they enter those countries. But in our country, we have Azil load centers. They load from the port. There's supposed to be an Azil load center there. We have barriers on our road. The customs people are manning some of the barriers. The police are manning the barriers, but they get free access through our corridor.
Well, that's the roads minister, Makwapta, there. Look, anyway, welcome back. This is Key Point here on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. This is about the second time we played this morning because we wanted to sink in so that it would serve as a basis for our first conversation this morning. Joining me in studio is a member of the NPP communications team. He's been a he had parliamentary ambitions for that matter, somewhere in the central region. He's been a deputy managing director of National Investment Bank, NIB. Has been a banker for nearly 20 years of his life. Alfred Thompson, good morning, welcome.
Well, thank you, Alfred. How are you doing?
Well, thank you. Also, Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He is a leader of one of three individual bondholder groups.
And a co-host of this program.
And the convener of the Kumi Preko Reloaded demonstration. Oh my goodness. Lawyer Martin, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Kansi.
Good to have you. Also, Mama Yarga is Member of Parliament for the Boko Central Constituency. He's a private legal practitioner as well, with many, many years of experience, also contributing to the development of this country in many ways. Mama Yarga, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, thank you.
I'll have a few people joining me on Zoom as we go on. Nia Ikweotu, former Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Republic of Ghana, will be joining us as we go on, and immediate past High Commissioner of Ghana to Canada. You heard your colleague MP, instead of you, Amayerga,
yeah,
the Roads and Highways Minister, lamenting about what's happening on the road and the corruption, most importantly, the corruption in his ministry. And he says he knows that some of his workers, his men at the ministry, are corrupt. Beyond the lamentations, it just ends there. We honestly don't know what else or what was being done or what has been done or what is being done to deal with these corrupt officials that he knows are in his ministry. Beyond the lamentations, what next?
Thank you very much. I think that the road sector is one of the sectors that drains this republic of very considerable funds. If you look at the cost of a kilometer of road and you compare with the cost in other countries around us, you can easily see that we tend to construct our roads at a much, much higher cost than our neighbors. But I think in this instance, he was specifically talking about vehicles that escape or people who are responsible for the axle load checking, conniving with drivers on the blind side of everybody to allow them to pass, and the weight destroys our roads. I had an experience just last week. A constituent of mine loaded his truck, and then when he got from I think Burkina Faso, when he got to the axle load station in Bolgatanga, they stopped him after he had checked the weight and said he was overweighted. And then he challenged them because he had gone through axle load checks in Burkina Faso, several of them, and had the weight printed for him at all those checkpoints. And so he challenged them and then showed them the weight, and they insisted that it was more than the required weight. And usually they do that to intimidate you and compel you to part with some money. I think I believe that's the objective.
Indeed.
But this gentleman insisted that, he had checked the weight several times. And
so he has documentary proof.
He had documentary proof, so he wasn't ready to compromise on his stance. So he said they should go to the police station. So they went to the police station. He said they should go to court. He was ready to go to court. But the owner has several trucks. So a second truck took off from Tema and went through about 5 axle loads, and all those were printed for him. And he got to Bolga at the time that this same truck was also packed, and then went on the axle load. And they said again that one too was overweighted. So he said, I'll catch you. This one, I have 5 printed reports in Ghana. The first one is in Burkina Faso. This one is in Ghana. And he presented the 5 and said, look, you see, so it means that your machine is most likely not calibrated and not working. So all you do is just allow trucks to pass, and then you tell them that it's overweighted. And because they don't want to waste their time, then they'll be forced to part with something at that point. So I called the regional minister and told the regional minister to go there at that axle load point and investigate exactly what was happening, because this guy has evidence that his axle load had gone through 5 checkpoints in Ghana, and he had the report, and then they were insisting that he had exceeded the weight. It meant that all the 5 were either spoiled or this one is not working. And the regional minister actually, did go to the location, and I haven't gotten the report from him yet. This was just a few days ago. So there are those instances where people have turned the axle load machines into money-making enterprises, criminal money-making enterprises. And since the minister himself has identified that that is what is happening, instead of lamentation, we rather expect him to be putting in place policy measures to check what is happening. I have experienced those things, and I have complained several times, and because my constituents mostly are in the trucking business, and so all the time they are calling because somebody has stopped them at axle load, they feel unfairly treated, and then you need to take action. This was just last week, and the Upper East Regional Minister was involved. He actually drove there. When I called him, he actually responded and drove there to check himself. So this is true, and we expect the Minister of Transport to find a way of checking the contractors, because I think they have been contracted out to private managers.
Yes.
And so there's a tendency that these people are abusing the system just to make money. We hear reports. Young people come and they tell us how somebody was unemployed and all of a sudden he's been appointed at an auxiliary center. He's building houses left and right and riding in the, the most expensive vehicle. We hear all these complaints from the young people because they know each other, and then they see when somebody has prospered overnight without any justification. And so once the minister himself has detected this, I think that they need to make sure that they have a monitoring mechanism that monitors. There are always ways of monitoring. I mean, if you are really serious, you can use the police, you can use the intelligence agencies, and then do random checks. And the people there, the private people that you have contracted it out to, know that the state is watching them. And so they can't abuse the opportunity that is given to them. So instead of complaining, I think that he should be focusing on putting in place policy measures to deal with the problem. And as for the thieves and corrupt criminals that he sees are in his ministry, I think that's the easiest part of his job. Since he knows them or knows that they are in his ministry, then it's up to him to put in place measures to deal with the criminals that are in his ministry, because he himself has identified, we are not the ones saying it. If NDC has said, oh, look, it's not true, but he himself is admitting that there are so many crooked people in his ministry, and when he removes and brings new ones, they even are worse than the previous ones. So it's up to him to now find out how to deal with the crooks and criminals and thieves in his ministry.
But is that not what we've seen over time, where when the minister comes out like this and makes such public pronouncements of lamentations and actually acknowledging that he has knowledge of the wrongs ongoing, and falls short of telling us after the lamentations what he is doing to address those ones, because he's now gotten to know that sacking them is even not enough. Because he makes the point that even after sacking these people, after he's identified them, he's caught them that, oh, you are corrupt, you are engaging in corrupt activities. After sacking them, when he brings new people, the new ones are actually more corrupt, or eventually become more corrupt than the ones he has sacked. So what that means is that it's a systemic problem. If it's a systemic problem, what measures have been put in place to address that? I think we didn't hear that from the minister, and that's where the concern of the members general public is, that if you, as the figurehead of the ministry, is there, and you've seen this trend, and what you tend to tell the public is, it's as though, look, I have tried, and it's almost like throwing my hands in despair. That's how the message came across.
The problem starts from, how did you recruit those people? If you recruited people not based on competence and aptitude and attitude, but because they are party foot soldiers, and they must fit into offices that they are not qualified to occupy. That's what you will get. That is what you will get. And we saw from the beginning how this government hounded people out of the public services simply on account of the fact that they are perceived to have joined those services and been elevated to those positions during the tenure of their predecessors, whether or not they were NDC members. And we have seen situations where very, very incompetent public servants, but excellent bootlickers in the various ministries,
excellent
bootlickers in various agencies, in the public and quasi-public and parastatals, have been elevated to very senior positions that their levels of training and experience make them totally unsuitable to occupy. But simply because of political considerations, they are given those places. You should expect nothing but thievery, bootlicking, the seat of ministers, because that is how they will stay in office. And ultimately, you will have these results that you are complaining and lamenting about. So that is where the problem starts. And because they are foot soldiers and party apparatchiks and so-called party loyalists, they have ways of making sure that even when they are corrupt and incompetent, nothing happens to them. They use the same party structures to frustrate every effort to discipline them. So that is why this man is lamenting on television instead of being able to take action. He cannot act against them because they are, mostly party foot soldiers that they themselves elevated to occupy those places. Otherwise, how would you as a minister know that somebody is corrupt and the punishment for corruption is clearly prescribed by the law, and you don't do anything about it? Because so far we haven't heard that that minister has gotten any staff of his prosecuted for corruption. But he's telling us on television that he knows people who are corrupt in his ministry and that he removed them and brought new people, and those who were even more corrupt than the ones that he removed. And yet, none of us heard him announcing to us that people came to his ministry, were corrupt, and he referred them to the Office of Special Prosecutor or the Attorney General for them to be prosecuted. He hasn't told us that, but he's telling us that he knows that there are corrupt people. And he's changed them, and those who have come are even more corrupt than. And when you do this, what you do also is to damage the image of the entire ministry, because now we don't know which of the staff there is corrupt or which is not corrupt. And I know that there are men and women of integrity in those ministries and the agencies of those ministries. Men and women of integrity and respectability. People who resist every effort to get them to do the wrong things. And I've seen several times how, some of the agencies there will resist any effort to force them to award a road contract using inappropriate mechanisms, and they will resist. And they will insist on the right thing being done. So there are also such people, 7. And when you make a blanket statement like this, sometimes you damage everybody's reputation, because you must have evidential basis for making that statement. So, it's a sad situation, but it's not just him. A few days ago, we heard the Foreign Affairs Minister lamenting similarly about so-called Goro boys who had inflated passport renewal and passport issuance fees by over 3,000-4,000%. And she was lamenting and complaining and etc. And we all heard her. And yet the director of passport, who is, staff of the ministry, is sitting there, and I'm sure he has CCTV cameras around the building, and he can see who the Goro boys are and who are not Goro boys. We have the Ghana Police Service that they could use to make sure that that whole area around the passport office, and yet everything is computerized. If everything is computerized, how is it possible that any Goro boy can sit outside and then get a passport issued for somebody? And she herself said that she knows that there are collaborators within the passport office.
Indeed, just like this one.
Just like this one. That there are collaborators within the passport office. I heard her. So what did you do about the collaborators? What mechanisms have you put in place to determine who the collaborators are and then punish them so that everybody else sees and then people will refrain from engaging in such conduct? But again, if you go and check the backgrounds of the so-called collaborators and Goro boys, you will find out that there is politics behind this. This is a country where young people graduate from university and don't think that they can get into any public office on the basis of merit. They must either know a minister, a party chairman, or a member of parliament. And this is a country where members of parliament can publicly on radio in their constituencies boast about how many people they have held their hands and put into the security services.
Indeed.
And nobody punishes anybody. A clear admission to having committed an offense. For ministers, important. I have seen deputy ministers who have managed to penetrate the recruitment processes into the security agencies. And when they finish, they parade them in their villages and snap pictures and put them on social media. And nobody has invited any such minister or deputy minister or member of parliament to ask that person how you manage to infiltrate the security agency system for a fair, equal opportunity system and got your people into the system. And nobody says anything about it. In fact, such people are hailed and praised for their capacity to undermine the law, undermine the system that we have created, to a point where the young people have become hopeless. That is the reason why you will see young, able-built young people made to do all sorts of nasty things in the name of politics. Why? Because many of those boys want to get into security agencies, and they feel that unless their party comes into office, they will not have the slightest opportunity to get into those agencies. And so even if it means killing so that their party will come into office, they are ready to do it because their fortunes are tied to that party coming into office. That is the state of our country. That's the reality.
Indeed.
So it's not just this minister, it's everywhere. This country is finished. This country is finished. I can tell you, because I have been in opposition, I've been in government, I've been in parliament, I've been minister, I've worked in the office of president, I've been in NGO where I've observed this country for a while, and I say, where we are today, we are totally finished. In fact, the worst part was when a niece of mine, a child whose father died many years ago, and I've been assisting her with school fees and etc. When SSC exams approached, came to my house early in the morning, woke me up from sleep. Do you know what she was asking for? That if I don't give her money to go and buy the exam questions, she has no chance of passing.
You mean like leaked papers?
Leaked papers. A 14 or 15-year-old, and that there's rumor around the school that there's exam question for sale. And her colleagues say they have bought some. She doesn't have money to buy it.
Wow.
This is the extent to which our country has degenerated. Where SS students feel that unless they buy exam questions, they have no chance of passing exams. Where are we going to? How are you going to train the next generation of leaders under these circumstances? Young people are hopeless. Graduates from universities are hopeless. Everybody who is looking for a job feels that unless you know some influential person. And so public officers who are elected to think through policy no longer have time to even deal with their core responsibilities. All they are doing is moving from office to office, begging for a slot in recruitment. And it's the same in all the sectors. And you refuse to do it at your own peril as a politician.
And the honesty with which you speak, and the fact that you make reference to your period of service as a person to this state and to this country, both in opposition and in government, NGO, you've gone to all these sectors, and the situation is the same. This unmeritorious structure of reward that we have set up for ourselves, it still rises and comes back to the politician, unfortunately. And you, as a politician, having seen this problem and lamenting about it, you have contributed to it as well, which you acknowledge. What has to be done?
Let me tell you something. These are matters that I have personally been fighting. If you go to Parliament, I have filed motions in Parliament.
You filed motions on this matter?
I have filed motions in Parliament calling for an investigation of the Ministers of Defense, Minister of Interior, National Security Minister, for the mechanisms of recruitment in the past years that NPP has been in office. I have filed motions. Ablakwa supported me in that motion.
And what happened?
And our colleagues on the other side came and said they had to amend the motion, and that the motion should start the investigation since 1993. And I said, I have no problem. Let's start the investigation since 1993. Let's start. I don't care, because I know that I've hardly involved myself in matters like that. And I know that during the NDC period, we hardly did those things. So let's start from 1993. The motion was advertised for close to 2 years, and then it disappeared. Go and check the records of Parliament. I have insisted and demanded that the Interior Minister, the Minister for Defense, National Security, that we should investigate the recruitments into the security agencies, all of them.
And the motion disappeared.
It is there. Go and check the records in Parliament. It just fizzled out. It just fizzled out. I don't want to blame anybody here, but my motion struggled on the order paper for several sittings and sessions of Parliament and just disappeared. Go and check the records in Parliament. Because so it's not as if there is no attempt to fight these issues. Some of us have tried. We've tried.
Like Martin, people, you see, after this public expression of frustration, what is going to happen is that this corrupt activities will go down a bit. They know the minister has just come to talk, and then not much is done about it for the next couple of weeks. Like what we've seen at the passport office, right after the minister spoke publicly, and that public outburst after the United Nations that's ranking of corrupt public institutions in this country. Right after that, the week later, people started receiving messages to come and take their passport, the backlog of their passports that have been there for months and so on. This knee-jerk reaction after these public outbursts, beyond that, what has to be done to address the systemic challenges that we're faced with as a people?
Okay, so I think Honorable Ayarga mentioned one of them. So prosecute the people involved, and that's accountability. Yes, if you don't prosecute in order for those persons to pay the price publicly, of course, this Honorable Amwakwata, Mr. Amwakwata says he sacked people. Yeah, they've paid the price, but it's been public. So, sorry, it's been private because we don't know those people.
Yeah.
So if he went ahead to report them to the Office of Special Prosecutor, then they would be prosecuted. Then it would, and as part of the prosecution process, we will get to know. So there would be that collateral damage of naming and shaming even before the case is ended, right? Yes, so it's a very critical step to take. Of course, I mean, I should have started that we commend him highly. We commend him highly for coming out with those statements. Yes, they are rants. I see some people who said, no, it means he's not up to the task. Well, you can look at it that way, but, you know, it's often said in policy that a problem well diagnosed is half solved. You see that, I mean, President Kufuor has been denying corruption, right? A corruption denier. But we all know that it's rife in his government. So for the minister to come out and to admit that, look, there are lots of corrupt people under him in the ministry, it's a very huge step forward. Very huge. And we must commend him because we need that honesty, right? So, yes, kudos to Mr. Amwakwata for that, right? And now, as you mentioned, those people he sacked, it's not yet late. Fortunately for us, when it comes to criminal cases, they'll tell you that there is no limitation, meaning that any time, okay, the case can be taken to court. Of course, subject to the evidence still being available. So though on paper, we can say the case can be taken to court anytime, but if you have a delay and all the evidence vanishes, of course, you can't take any case to court like that. It has to be based on evidence, right? You remember Afarijan saying the name of the game is what? Evidence, right? Yes, so let's report, he should report those people to the Office of Special Prosecutor. And as I said, of course, you know, Kisie Jabin, he's getting about 249 employees next month, right? So there will be more capacity. So the OSP can deal with that. and then we can make progress. And that is very commendable. I can't overemphasize the point that Mr. Mwakwata has done the right thing by calling out the corrupt people. Of course, he hasn't mentioned their names, but I hope from what he's done, he can furnish us with names. Because if those people were taken through disciplinary proceedings, and that's what I expect, yes, he shouldn't be shy to give us the names and the reports. Because in the civil service, you can't just dismiss somebody like that. If you did, the person would go to court. You remember under President Atamil's regime, the accountant Odum, when Muntaka was sports minister, the Pampers case, Odum was fired, the accountant, he went to court and he won, right? So, and that's our law. There's due process. So, if Mr. Mwakwata is saying that he's fired people for corruption and the rest, and especially corruption being that very grave, we would presume, and I mean, we have every right to presume that under the law, some due process was done. And that's to say that the case was investigated and a committee would have found him or those persons liable. So he should come out with the reports. He should come out with the reports in the interim. That's very, very critical because that's civil remedies that he has, meted out to those people. That's separate and distinct from the criminal sanctions which can be meted out by a court of law if he triggers the processes. So let's look for it. Maybe, Mr. Okanse, you can send your reporter to interview him further for those reports, and then we can do that. We can get those ones, then we can read, and of course, make progress, right? And one other thing too is that, so having said this, of course, in the context that the week before, the Honorable Ayoko Botwe had also come out to make statements. And
exactly.
The next thing we're expecting is the president. He himself, he should also come into the fray.
The president should make a statement.
Yes. Because you see, now every day we keep saying his days are numbered. He's on his way out. So the fight against corruption, is that all? The fight against corruption that he said, look, he was going to raise money from it to fund free SHS. That's what he told the BBC. When he was asked, how are you going to fund free SHS? He said, oh, the proceeds from corruption alone can fund free SHS. And some conservative estimates show that we lose about $3 billion to corruption every year. So now, as we sit, just barely a year for him to go. I don't count the last 6 months because next year by this time, now all the attention would have shifted from him to the presidential election. So let's say effectively he has just this August, right? Maybe 10 months because from July next year, effectively he'll be out. So just barely 10 months for him to go. Is that the end of the fight against corruption? No, we shouldn't. So this is an opportune time for the president to also step in and show that, look, maybe he's repented from his own corrupt ways, okay? From the Cecilia Abnadapa letter that he said Cecilia would be exonerated, and you see how the case is gotten from bad to worse, etc. The PDS case, right? The fumigation that he himself superintended. President Kufuor superintended the fumigation of schools, etc. when they were shut down. Manasseh did an investigation and we lost about 500 million cedis. He hasn't answered. Since Manasseh did that, the fumigation, I haven't read his response, right? So this is an opportunity for he himself to also come out and give a contrite heart, right? So that we will see if we can start afresh. We can start afresh. I mean, so we can say, I think that this matter of corruption also dovetails into our pet project about the declaration of assets by public officers. Fortunately, every day I've been saying that I'll bring the Gazette publication, I'll bring it. Yeah, today I have it.
You have it?
Yeah, lots.
Fantastic.
You see President Rawlings declare his assets, PV Obey, Mary Grant, all of them.
The publication of it, and not just the filling of the form and putting in an envelope to give to the Auditor General.
Yes, you see, plenty, all of them, Steve Obimpe, you name them, NDC appointees. And it's good, very, very good, because look,
show it to the cameras. Show it to the cameras. So this is the declaration of assets by Jerry John Rawlings.
Yes, and his appointees. Wednesday, 7th October, 1992.
And this is a public document.
Yes, number 40. Then you see number 41, 42, so all the appointees lined up. And I keep saying this is not the first time. When Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown, then they set up the committee, Jage Commission. This is how they also went through. They had to, all of them had to come and account for their assets. Had to come and account publicly. Those reports, maybe next week I'll bring the Jage Commission reports. You see them fat like this. Each minister, minister by minister, ambassadors, everybody had to account for it. If you couldn't, you were taken out. And let's mention this. So you see that when the, not only the Jage Commission, but the there's the Taylor Committee, a NIN committee. So in the 1979 elections, when we're going, people who had been found to have amassed wealth in public office illegally, unexplained wealth, all of them were lumped up and disqualified. J.H. Mensah, yeah, he was one of them. Moro Igala, you know, he was going to be a presidential candidate. He was the one that they took off, and then Liman became, Moro Igala, all of them, they were disqualified. Over 100 of them, 100 public officers. And then we further made the SMCD, there was a law that, okay, if you want to contest elections, come, go before the committee, go and explain all your assets. So if you had to be investigated before you would stand election, you see SMCD 216, etc., then 206, lots of them. So this is the right time, now that from Cecilia Dapa to Ayokubuchu's rants, to Amoakwate's rants, and the president's own infamous letter saying that Cecilia Dapa will be exonerated, etc. And in the context of the PDS, the context of the bulk oil storage cases, all the clearing agent cases, you see all those cases where the president cleared them to the extent that now his family is very rich. Of course, Ijapa, where he earned the title of Mother Serpent of Corruption, which aptly fitted him, and then to last year's GII report that showed that the presidency was the second most corrupt institution. And you remember before then I had said he's part of a criminal syndicate, and people say, hey, don't say so. He's the president, he's the president. Last year, by this time, he still had the goodwill. So the people say, no, you can't say that about the president. Oh, come and retract. We retracted. But you see how, since then, you see how it's gotten worse. So Ghanaians, that's a lesson to us. When somebody gets up, I mean, I voted for him. You don't love Akufo-Addo more than I do. No. I love the Akufo-Addo more than Mahama, and I've never voted for Mahama. Right. So for somebody who voted for him, if I came out to tell that, look, this man is part of a criminal syndicate. No, people this retracted. You can't say that. You can't say that.
And you retracted.
Yeah, you retracted. Then afterwards,
so you are such a coward.
No, because you didn't support me. You didn't support me. Now you see. You see the criminal syndicate.
You've retracted.
You see the criminal syndicate.
You retracted. You retracted.
Yeah.
So yes.
You say it. So that's it. So please, and then so Mr. Counsel, so please, final sentence on it. Look, the Attorney General should come up. The public of a code of conduct for public officers. The bill. Look. We must have publication of assets in there because Rawlings did it. The appointees did it. We must have publication. We must have verification. And then we must have yearly filing of the assets. You know, Honorable Chum Berima, is that Nkranza, the MP? Yeah, he's leading the charges for that we should do yearly publication. And it's not far-fetched because if you look in the 1979 Constitution, we had to file the public officers, that's those who qualify, had to do it every 2 years. Yeah, the 1979 Constitution. That's our history. You have to file every 2 years.
So there's some precedence to that call that he's making.
Yes. So now internationally, it's accepted that yearly is good. Yearly is good. Okay. Yes. So that's it. So Ghanaians, wake up. Wake up. If you are scared, you don't want to lose even a finger in the democracy, then you are not prepared. Because, look, if you read Plato's books, they will tell you that that is how citizens, when the majority are docile, then you get bad governance, right? And wise people who refuse to participate in governance are what? Ruled by fools.
Okay, Martin Bebo, thank you. And this particular document that you have actually lays a solid foundation to what we're going to be doing in the coming weeks here at TV3, specifically concerning asset declaration and matters arising. But Mr. Thompson, you see, this matter has degenerated into so many other areas. In fact, after this pronouncement and the honest acknowledgement by Mama Yariga, I'm receiving many messages from people who corroborate what he talked about. For instance, somebody says most young people join vigilante groups of political parties, hoping to shortcut the process of employment into security agencies. And trust me, Alfred, I know 3 friends who have been employed into the security agencies by just joining some of the private security groups of political parties in this country. And he puts into bracket MPP, NDC. It says the situation has been growing over the years, and it is getting rather scary, you say. Thank you. Mr. Thompson, how should these systemic challenges which politicians have contributed to its growth be dealt with, especially because the commitment to deal with these systemic challenges still has to start from the political heads appointed to head these specific ministries?
Good morning, Alfred. Good morning, Honorable Ayariga. Good morning, Lawyer Pebu Martin. Good morning to all those watching us, especially to the delegates of NPP, as today they go to the polls at 9 o'clock. I'd ask that they work tirelessly to make sure that we work towards a victory in 2024. This is the first step towards that victory. And I implore on all of them to vote for Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia. I believe in him. I sincerely know the good work. The good work is done.
This is we haven't even gotten there.
We'll go there. I'm just greeting. And I'm just asking that they
support it. The station will bring you an invoice.
When you're speaking, I didn't speak.
The station will bring you an invoice.
Speak when you're speaking.
I'm just questioning you.
Don't take it.
I'm minding. Just to round it up, I believe in him, and I believe that sincerely we could work together to achieve the purpose in which we are doing that. Coming to the issue, I don't know whether I should be talking about the transport ministry or about the things that
Mama
Yarga nicely pushed inside, or the things that now we are talking about gazetting.
There are interlinkages.
But
this
the issue
so you can deal with the transport.
The issue was about the transport, and
yes.
I'll put all those in.
Indeed.
And I'm glad that he's brought certain things up, but the unfortunate aspect is that whilst bringing it up, it became more political than more about let's attack the problem. Because where he came in and said that, listen, this didn't happen under us and I've been working as a minister. If you did, that doesn't mean that someone under your reign didn't do a similar thing. Because these things didn't start today. The changing of directors at ministries, he knows very well. Every government who comes wants to work with someone who he's comfortable with. They don't sack them, they don't chase them out. They transfer you to another ministry or another agency where they bring in other people from other agencies. Because we keep on saying, and this is where the problem is, that when you stay in an agency for a very long time, or a ministry for a very long time, you become so accustomed to the place that now, if you are not careful, it will lead you to do certain things that you are not supposed to do. Like you have a situation where checks are signed, checks are put in a drawer of a director, and then when a contractor was coming to pick his check up, but so the minister hasn't approved it, so we haven't signed. And it's all because they want some enticement. That is why they brought in all these gift makes and other things, so that you don't even have that chance to keep the thing in your thing. Once the minister approves or the person in charge approves, it goes to finance and finance will do it. But definitely, as human as we are, when you put all these digital institutions in place or digital things in place, you will still have a human being working behind closed doors. So there will be challenges. It's from time to time that you have to be transferring people, you have to be moving people here and there. So when you come out and say that, oh, people have been hounded out and they have been chased out and you only get the bootleggers, every politician knows that every time you get bootleggers coming around, whether you're in office or you're not in office.
I see. So how do you deal with that?
That is why in 2020, when President Mahama was going for his campaign, you got people who were at the Galamsey side saying that when they come, they chase with the NDC people out and leave the NPP people. When you are doing Galamsey and the soldier or the police is coming to chase you, do they ask you for your party card first? But these are bootlickers. They are taking advantage of the situation. Oh, when they come and chase the NDC people out. And you can see MPP people working there. How true can that be? But, you know, we also fall gullible to all these things. We allow ourselves to be used by the people down there. When we finish, we complain that they are the people causing the problem. They are the people causing the corruption. They are the people doing that. At the end of the day, we allow ourselves to be used.
You mean the politicians?
Yes, we also allow ourselves to be used. Because when I go on a campaign platform and you come and tell me that, MPP people, maybe NDC, you come and tell me that MPP people are being chased out. And that it's only NDC people who have been left there to do work, or they are being left in their ministries. What would I say? He just said it, that people have been hounded out because of they believe that they are belonging to a particular political party. And that alone, you give the room for people to come and tell you things. We've sat here and we've heard some people will tell you that, oh, I went to pay and I bought information about certain things that are going on, and I'll bring it out and I'll do this. We know leading persons who have done that. And sometimes you go and it's even the wrong information. I've had the chance of accustoming someone who had information about NIB at that time. And I told him that all that, I was there. You could have just called me. All that you are saying didn't add up. Because someone had just given you information, you're also throwing it out there. And these are things that are worrying us day in, day out. What the roads minister did, or what Antishali Mayokoboche did, is it good? We want us to be open. We want us to bring things out. I've gone to see something wrong. I've announced it. You are telling me, and I was glad that you said it, that the moment the foreign affairs minister came out with this, announcement and telling us what was happening at our passport office, immediately people were called to come and get their passports.
But that's the challenge, is it not? Because
all
these things, we've seen it before. It's short-lived.
There have been situations.
It's not sustainable.
There have been situations where you go and it wouldn't even come out. And passport, after some time, you have to destroy it. I think after it stays in the office for some time, it's just like checkbooks. Checkbooks you print for customers. You are supposed to let the customers get it with less than, I think, 3 months or so. After it stays in the bank for more than 3 months, and Bank of Ghana comes for an audit, and they see it's there, you will be penalized for it. So you get sometimes the staff calling you every time that, oh, your checkbook is here. If you don't come for it, this. And once you destroy it too, they ask you questions. Why you are not able to get in touch with your customer? The same thing with passports and other things. So, you know, when
let the system work.
When we don't come out to come and say that, listen, so many passports have been destroyed because of ABCD, because they have been staying there for long. Maybe a person is dead or something and someone can't come and pick it up. But they have been destroyed and they don't come out and say it. But now you get a minister coming out to vehemently show her protest that, listen, we are trying to improve the system. Why are you people still constantly trying to bring the system down? It is not helping and building good image for this country. It is not helping us. And it is not about maybe she's saying that this is my person or that. She said the people are inside, because nobody can do that without getting the collaboration of someone inside. And that is why she said that anybody who has stayed there for over 1 year should be transferred. When the road minister came, he said that, listen, all these axles things that are going on, all our roads, we keep on repairing roads. People keep on chasing us. That, listen, our roads are bad, especially the trunk roads. Look at what we did in 2000 from Accra to Cape Coast, how the roads were done. Now you go to that same road and it's bad. Because you see trucks loaded. Sometimes I follow some of these trucks and I ask myself, how on earth can we allow this small truck to overload? Some of the goods you see there, you see even now, even the Abuboyas are trying to carry certain things, like kiosks, like big things, that should go on a bigger truck. And you ask yourself, why is this allowed? They pass through police checkpoints, they pass through so many other places. Does it mean that the minister shouldn't come out and say it openly? It's part of the ways of making sure that we fight some of these things. Because it's not about him. It's not about his ministry. It's not about maybe an MPP person being there or not. We don't care about that. What we care about is bringing some of these corrupt practices out for all of us to rise up against it. Because if we don't do that, at the end of the day, it will affect all of us.
Fair point, Alfred. But you see, beyond the transfers, I've always never believed that transfer is a way of solving any problem in any ministry. you refer to what Shirley Ayoko-Botchwey said about transferring people who have been there for 1 year.
Because when I started, I used the case of when you stay there for long, you become too accustomed to the place that you can do certain things you are not supposed to do.
Fair point. But if the problem is the system, then transferring people will do little or nothing in the process of solving that problem. The Roads Minister says, even after cracking the whip and sacking the corrupt people from the ministry, the new ones who come in become more corrupt than the old ones he sacked. That means that the system itself is the problem. And the solution must start from addressing the systemic problem, not transferring the human beings who become corrupted by the system that is corrupting itself.
Okay. First and foremost, what is the job of the minister? He's a policy maker and driver. That is his first and foremost position, a policy maker and driver. There are people within, and that's why you have agencies that check some of these things. That is why he used the word, the BNIs and the national security and other things can be used as a, as the conduit to check some of these things. But they are human beings. They are human beings. He knows and I know. Now sometimes you can even send someone who you expect to know better and do better and will come back with the results that you are not expecting. And the results will be negative. Meanwhile, you know that things are going on. It is, everybody should rise up against this. That is what you are saying. And that is why the ministers are now naming and shaming. That if, as this thing, transport owner, you know that what you are doing, you are overloading. And one of the things he said, which was very informing, is that they overload from the port. When they go through all these axle checks, they are the moment you get there, sometimes you even see a police officer when you stop somewhere, someone has folded their driving license, you know there's something inside, and they are giving out. Or they fold these days, because the driving license is a card, so now they use booklets and all other things, and then they give it out. And then instead of maybe checking to make sure that, listen, the axle, the load that you've put on this axle thing is over and above the number that it should be. Instead of checking them and punishing them, they'll leave them to go, and they'll go through all these checkpoints. They'll go and get to the last checkpoint. After doing that, they get into the border, into the new country, like maybe Burkina Faso or wherever it's going. They'll offload some of the things there, because they know that in those countries, they are very, very principled about their load and how they go around it. They offload, put it there, and get smaller trucks to come and carry it, because already he's finished the main duty. So the internal ones that will be left is it's a small problem for them. And these are some of the challenges we are facing. And so you have to bring it out for people to see that at the end of it, if you are not careful, what is going to happen is that you will think you are getting maybe 100 Ghana, 200 Ghana. Your roads, that is going to cost millions of cedis, is being affected. And then the little that could have been done to put it in other avenues will not be used to redo this road or be maintained. That is the challenges we are facing. And these are the things we have to talk about. Also, we talked about the ministries, the people that have chased out the passport. One thing he talked about that really, I sat there and really asked myself, did he really know what was going on previously and even previously about this people not having the requisites, or they have the certificates and everything, but they always want whom you know. Whom you know did not start yesterday. It did not start in 2017. Before the implementation of this Fourth Republic, and Martin is here, he can bear me out. Whom you know started and has always been going on. And whom you know, and meritocracy on, on maybe he being my friend, he being my this thing, has been going on over and over again. One thing I told myself that I'll never do, and I don't mind, and I've suffered for it, and I don't mind suffering for it, is to take a godfather in the party. I said, I'll never do that. Excellent. If you believe in me, give me the job to do. If you don't believe in me, don't give me the job. Okay. I will not take a godfather, because I will not go and sit somewhere for someone to be remote controlling me. It will not happen. My name will go down the ditch. If I go and sit there and tell me, do this, do A, B, C, D, and I can't do it for you, I'll tell you, I can't do it. Sack me for it. Take me out for it. But if everybody is going to go that way, it will help all of us. If because of that I'm not going to get a job, so be it. But we should not come and sit here and act as if this started in 2017. It's been going on in ages. And if we all don't come together and condemn it and fight it and say that, listen, for once, I am not going to do it. For once, if Martin is doing it, I'll tell Martin, don't do it, and I'll name and shame Martin. If Alfred is doing it, I'll name and shame Alfred. If we don't go that route, we are going to be in trouble. And this country is going to go on and on and on. You see it now that, things are becoming worse, because our numbers are growing. So the more your numbers grow, the more these things grow. But it's been over and over and over. And Ghana has been that way ever since. Well, let us call a spade and not a big spoon. You see, and let us not start naming, your political party is doing it, mine is not doing it. It's all around.
That's why the system must work. The system is working in other countries. And the system can work in Ghana.
He just admitted that when they loot and get to the Burkina Faso border,
I said that's what the minister was saying.
The same drivers, when they load and get to the Burkina border, they offload the excess weight
that's what
and leave it there. So how is it that the leaders in Burkina Faso can run a system where drivers understand that they are not supposed to overload, and yet we Ghanaians
people pay.
Who claim that we are very civilized, first in sub-Saharan Africa to be independent, first to be this, first to be that, first to be this other thing. Basic things like disciplining drivers, our leadership is incapable of achieving.
Or disciplining those at the poor points.
But you see, in areas where you put measures in place to address these systemic
challenges. Let me tell you something.
Because people benefit from the inefficiency.
If you recruit people into the police service, listen, if you recruit people into the police service, police service, immigration, fire service, not on the basis, the security agencies, not on the basis of merit, aptitude. We hear every day of people buying their way into the security agencies. Somebody comes to you and say, Honorable, I want you to help me to get into the security. So no. How am I going to help you? The system, the way it is designed, didn't you see them queuing and then they went through? No. Forget about the queue. No. They are selling the thing. Yes. You say, no, it's not possible. You dismiss the person. Tomorrow morning, you see him in uniform. How did you get it? I told you that they sell the thing and they are talking about, interview and etc. If young people buy their way into these offices, the first preoccupation of those young people is to recover their investments. That's the reality.
Yeah. You see, they're going to charge someone for it.
So no matter how beautiful your laws are, those responsible for the implementation of the laws are interested in recouping their investments. So he will see clearly that it has been overloaded. The police officer, you wonder how the truck moved from Tema and got to Paga. Because along the way, there are several checkpoints. And yet, these trucks managed to get there because the police, the immigration, all those who are customs officers at the various checkpoints, all those in the chain, everybody is busy trying to recoup the investments that they made into getting into public office. So that is why in Ghana, they will do whatever they want to do because they know everybody is compromised. But when they get to the border with Burkina Faso, they will offload it because they dare not drive 1 kilometer in that country with excess load.
Dr. Adam Bona sends me a message, says, Alfred, good morning. I chaired a committee for the minister on this matter to investigate this issue that he came out public to talk about. Even the national security were brought in and they were more corrupt.
How did the people get into the national security?
So
go and check their backgrounds.
That's Dr. Adam Bona there. But let me acknowledge Nia Ikotu is former Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Nia Ikotu, good morning. Hello? Hello? Nia Ikotu, good morning. Hello? Hello? Honorable Nia
Hello.
Ikotu, good morning. Can you hear me? Nia Ikotu, good morning.
Good morning. I can hear you. Good morning.
Great. So
I can hear you.
Can you listen to me on the audio, the Zoom audio, and not the television? So these systemic challenges that we've been talking about in studio, for you as a former Attorney General, what has to be done to deal with these issues that we have talked about beyond the lamentations? In a few minutes, your thoughts.
Well, thank you very much. Greetings to all the colleagues at the studio. I agree largely with the comments that have been shared. I hope you can hear me well.
I can hear you.
I agree largely with the comments that have been shared by them. It's nothing new. I mean, like the rest have already said, we don't have to put it in a straitjacket basket as if it's we're only talking about a particular government. It's been around for some time. We are aware that when you go to IMF and World Bank, you get into those programs, then there is freeze on public, recruitment and the rest. All these lead to this kind of situations where people try to find other means of getting into public office. So the meritocracy thing is something that we may have to consider seriously. Fighting corruption is something that we should all get involved in. If what Adam Bona has just said to you is evidence that the minister has done something about the situation before, then it is not that he's just sitting there and lamenting, but he knows what to do. Remember that a ministry may have departments and agencies under the ministry. And the minister alone cannot oversee everything. You wouldn't know what is happening in one department or an agency once you are sitting at the ministry. So like we are all saying, let the systems work. Let's get systems in place such that you are sure that when you bring out policies, the policies will work. But unfortunately, you are having a situation where people are thinking more of themselves than the government. They have situations where the systems have been put in place to take away the human element. So use digitalization. And yet people are taking advantage, like the Minister of Foreign Affairs said, in making sure the systems don't work the way they ought to work, so that in that milieu of confusion, they take advantage and do their own thing. I mean, if we have as a load point where people should go, just weigh, and you are given a receipt, and you are told whether you are more than the necessary required weight, for which reason you should not proceed. Why should this be a problem? That is the system. But yet somebody allows them to move on. And that person is thinking about himself. He's not thinking about the road. Meanwhile, so much money goes into building the road. And that is what the minister is talking about.
Okay.
If you sit there and selfishly think only about yourself, at the end of the day, it is our money that we put into building this road that is going waste because we are allowing some of these things to go on. So it's a huge problem, but then we should think of cracking the wheel. If we don't crack the whip the time it ought to be cracked, if you don't make examples of people, if you don't make corruption unrewarding, then we'll continue. I mean, if Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew was able to do it and to tell them that, look, once I get you, you won't go scot-free, and then that changed the country. Why can't we just adopt some of those principles, make sure that we make the corruption itself, unrewarding? I mean, if we go into somebody's account now and we find that person is holding so much money that he ought not to have been holding, what prevented those people who tell us that you should know your clients from reporting to the agencies that, look, there is an account here which is holding too much money, looking at how much that person is being paid and all that? Why are we all not helping so that we fight this corruption and make it, unrewarding for everybody. So I do not think that this is something that is only akin, if you like, to MPP. It's been all around. Our children finished school during the period of NDC, and they couldn't find jobs. They couldn't find jobs. They had to queue for a very long time. If you don't have a friend somewhere to go and talk to, then your child will be sitting at home. So it is nothing new. It's been around for so. How do we get the system working? That is it.
The Honorable Nia Ikweotu, thank you. Thank you. Please stay with me. Thank you for these initial thoughts on this matter. In fact, this issue has generated some serious conversation and reaction. It actually goes beyond just what the Minister for Roads and Highways has said. Colonel Festus Abuaje, retired, sends me a message, says, good morning, Alfred. A fundamental problem is the total collapse of rail transportation, which could have facilitated the movement of heavy loads, especially those bound for neighboring countries. This is a strategic flaw in our communication and transportation system, you mean. Thank you, Colonel Festus Abuaje. This one here from Dr. Kwame Santi says, the hardship is real. Young people know that there are no jobs. The surest way of getting a job is to join a political party. When your party is in power, you know you can get something. And the unemployment is growing and continuously becoming a security threat than we thought it to be in some years past. Thank you, Dr. Kwame Asante, for this. That actually would round up the conversation for this. Alfred, a minute.
A minute on that. We talked about this.
1 minute.
Yeah, what do you call it? The services of the axle loading. I think what we should start looking at is to digitalize it, as Doctor has been pushing for this digitalization. There could be, these ramps and things in front of it. When you go on the machine, and they realize that it's more than the number that is specified for that particular track, maybe this thing will never come down, and it will lock you there, so you have to offload. And these are things that we can put in place. If they are able to print a receipt for you, the person will be seen out. And these are things that, going digital is the best way to go, and we have to do something about it, because the people will always be there. As Doctor will tell you, the people will be there, but you have to also put in innovative ways of making sure that once the human interface becomes lower, you are able to fight some of these things. The guy who talked about the railway is a heavy investment thing that it's gone down for a very long time. It's a gradual thing that you can put in. You can't do it within, let's say, a year, 2 years, or 3 years. When NDC came, they started putting some in place. In fact, it started from Kufuor's time. They were putting some in place. Kufuor didn't finish. NDC came, they were putting some in place. They couldn't finish. Nadu has come in for about 6 years plus. He's still continuing with it, and it's not finished. So it tells you that it's heavy investment, and we need to do it gradually. You can't just put all your resources there and say, because you want to stop the road use by these heavy trucks, so we are going to put this in place. And so these are things that are being put in place. We can work together to fight this, but corruption, the canker of corruption, should be fought by everybody, and not only the government, not only the president, and not only the state.
Okay,
thank you. But I'll beg with my brother Martin that this thing that he keeps on hitting the president about corruption, he should just tone down a bit. Because he's there as a leader, but he can only push certain things.
When he spoke about Singapore, what did he mention?
The leader.
He mentioned one person, the leader.
It doesn't matter.
He mentioned the leader. It matters. He mentioned the leader.
No.
He mentioned the leader.
Mother serpent of corruption.
Okay.
The leader sends the signals.
Please, let's not do that.
The
moment we start calling names, we stop fighting the purpose.
But we've given him everything. He was running away from
the given mandate to do the job. So we have to call and name you.
Thank you. Okay, so it rounds up this conversation for this particular issue this morning. But guess what? This is not just a conversation that ends today, because these are systemic problems which would have to keep talking about to ensure that the issues are addressed, because we as taxpayers are paying people to address the problems. We're not the ones supposed to be worrying about some of these challenges. And the lamentations are the ones that we actually receive. So that is an issue which we're not going to rest on, but continue to talk about the issues that are of concern to the growth of this country, strong institutions and not individuals. The governor of the central bank has been addressing a number of issues this week, including the matters that the minority you raised. And also the renowned economist Kwame Pianim as well has been talking about why he thinks that your call for the governor of the central bank to resign, together with his two deputies, in his view, is not going to solve the problem. Now, let's start off with the reasons or the justifications by the governor of the central bank, Dr. Nesadasen, about the building, the new headquarters they are building at this time, all the concerns that have been raised about it. Take a look.
The government issued an executive instrument to allow the Bank of Ghana acquire that land, and SIC was duly compensated. The bank then began to plan the building of its new head office, taking into consideration the need to ensure that the building meets all the requirements of a modern central bank of international standards, similar to central bank head office buildings in Abuja and Dakar, and includes provision for data centers, currency processing centers, vaults, and other sensitive installations. It is not just a simple, ordinary building. Let me re-emphasize that the bank followed all the necessary public procurement processes in this endeavor. No procurement laws were broken. The decision to commence construction was taken as far back as 2019, when the bank generated profits. Appropriations for the head office were made each year from profits made in 2019, 2020, and 2021. The project has therefore been going on for over 3 years. The DDEP only took place in January 2023. If we were to be taking the decision today, building a legacy head office would not have been a priority. However, this is a project that has been running for 3 years and about 50% complete.
Once the Bank of Ghana wanted to give beyond the 5% as is mandated by law, it needed to go to Parliament, and that's what the minority ranking member, then ranking member on finance in 2022, Kesela Tuforsin, said that the bank had printed an amount of 22 billion cedis to finance government's budget without parliamentary approval. And your explanation is what?
I don't recall that they need parliamentary approval. Remember, we suspended the Fiscal Responsibility Act. When the Fiscal Responsibility Act was removed, it was saying in effect, we cannot obey the regulation that we have governing the fiscal.
Right.
Okay, so we are suspending it. When the Minister for Finance went to Parliament and they agreed to suspend the Fiscal Responsibility Act, Parliament should have asked, what happens to the equivalent? That is the monetary policy one, which is, I think, Article 36 of the amended Bank of Ghana Act, which says that if there is an emergency and Bank of Ghana needs to be able to suspend the rules surrounding monetary policy, what they do is to inform the Minister for Finance. It's the Minister for Finance's responsibility to report to Parliament. We didn't make Bank of Ghana responsible to go to Parliament. So when the Minister for Finance went to Parliament to suspend the Fiscal Responsibility Act, somebody from the opposition or from the government should have asked, what happens to Article 36 of the Banking Act? And the minister should have said, concurrently, that part is also suspended. Because you cannot suspend the Fiscal Responsibility Act and leave the complementary dimensions on the monetary policy side. Because the fiscal part affects the channels of the monetary policy. And this should have been clear.
Some of us heard from the grapevine that he had threatened to resign.
What I heard is that he was unhappy. Why was he unhappy? He was unhappy because the severity of the economic crisis was not being communicated, neither to Parliament, neither to us, neither to the print and electronic media, and nobody was asking serious questions. What is good?
Well, that's renowned economist Kwame PNM in that exclusive interview with my colleague Parkwesi Asare there. Earlier, you heard also the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Adesina, addressing the press. In fact, the things that he spoke about at that press conference were more of a response to the statement that you signed, asking a number of questions of the governor to answer. Let's start off with the response to the building.
Okay.
The building, because that's one of the things that you asked, that procurement and so on, how the cost of that building rose from over $60 million to the $250 million that you quoted. He says that that building is costing a little over $121 million dollars. That's the cost that he announced. You say $250 million. Where did you get that figure from?
Well, I mean, Dr. Addison and his deputies and board and team at the Bank of Ghana, I regret to say so, must be very ashamed of themselves.
Why?
You see, we are all, watching. I don't want to use the word that I wanted to use initially. In the press briefing, if you observe, Dr. Addison ran away from telling Ghanaians how much the building actually cost us at now, the contract sum. He ran away. I read the statement, and in the statement,
so for the benefit of the viewer, that's the building.
Yes, he avoided stating the contract sum. The contract sum, as we speak now, is $222,799,760 United States dollars.
222 million.
222 million.
799,000.
760 United dollars. Yes.
Where are you getting this figure from?
This is the last approval given by the Central Tender Review Committee, and it is the basis of a review of the contract sum from an initial sum of $121,078,517. So the initial contract sum was 121 million. And then subsequently, on the 17th of January 2023, it was reviewed upwards to 222,799,760 United States dollars. Now, listen carefully. Note that. Yes.
Please, hold on to that point. Hold on. I'm going to come back to you. Don't lose your thought. This is your election command center. Let's go over quickly to the national headquarters of the NPP. The General Secretary, Justin Kodia Frimpong, is talking. Take a look.
Regional officers, please go to camp regional officers and the constituency chairperson. These are the highest officers of the party. So I don't see how any of them can become, and who is going to direct them that they should go and become at the place.
What is the assurance from you as a General Secretary that these elections will be conducted free and fair?
Well, so far as we have seen, there are no issues here. There is no manner of disorganization here. Everything is going on peacefully, and that's how we expect it to end by 1 p.m.
So the president and the vice and all the bigwigs of the party should be here in the next 1 hour.
Well, I can tell you that the president will be here by 9.
And by what time are you closing the polls? Are you going by the 1 p.m. directive?
Yes, it starts at 9 and it closes at 1 p.m. And I'm yet to confirm for the elected forward. Even before the every center should wait to 1 p.m. before counting begins.
Through this medium, what's your message to all aspirants and delegates across the country?
Well, we all need to be decorous. And the way and manner in which the elections committee have managed the process, they've done a yeoman's job, and we say kudos to them. But at the end of the day, we also urge the aspirants that every concern that they raised during or before today were addressed by the elections committee, which I know they had their last meeting on Thursday. So everything should be fine. At the end of the day, we are selecting 5 out of 10. And it's not a question about this person has won, this person has lost. It's the MPP that has won. And that should be the feeling among all of us.
So what type of aspirants are you looking out for at the end of the day? Because you are looking beyond this election, going to the flag bearer elections, and then the main election in 2024 to break the 8. What type of aspirants are you expecting to have as a party?
Well, those who will be chosen by the party delegates. Definitely the party delegates, they are delegates. And being a delegate means that you are there to represent the aspiration of the general party people. So any person who will be selected will be someone who resonates well with the rank and file of the party.
General, you directed that there should not be congress or gathering or whatever form, but we've seen the posters of some of the aspirants here. Don't you think, the posters are still here?
And what is wrong with that?
Don't you think it can change someone's mind?
I don't see how it will change my mind or any person's mind. It's an election. People campaign, people have posters everywhere. And there was no rule to say that we can't paste their posters here. There's nothing, they have not flouted anyway.
Kindly break it down for us.
Some aspirants will be and they want to be for it is already in the public domain. Again, now come to that effect.
Well, let's be unexpected.
This is your Election Command Center, and giving you intermittent updates of the NPP Super Delegates Conference happening today. Some 961 super delegates have the responsibility of reducing the number of flag bearer aspirants from 10 to 5, as per the NPP's Constitution, Article 19, Clause 3, after the 2017 presidential aspirants. This amendment was made to the party's constitution. So stay with us here on your Election Command Center. We'll be crossing over and giving you updates, but let's come back to the substantive issue before we went for that quick inset. Mama Yaraga, you were on the governor's justification for this new headquarters, which he said as of 2020 was valued at $121,078,517. And he gave that breakdown. You say that as we speak, it's what? 222,799,760.
As we speak, the last concurrent approval for a revision of scope of works and new contract sum dated 17th of January 2023 placed the contract sum at $222,799,760.
And this is which document you're quoting from?
Oh, a letter. I sent them to you because I usually like your printers have. Otherwise, you can share it.
Yes,
it's out there.
We'll put it on the
out
screen.
there. Don't forget Don't forget that PPA documents are supposed to be on the website. So if you go to the website, the documents are there.
So this is from the Public Procurement Authority.
That I shared a copy with you. So you saw it. So I'm not lying. Now the second thing is the governor himself, if you recall.
Yes.
The statement that they issued, he said that the size, the space, scope of work has been revised to 100,000 square meters. Is that in dispute? No. That's not in dispute. That it has been revised from 73,000 square meters to 100,000 square meters.
Beyond.
it was specific. 73,000 square meters to 100,000 square meters. And he himself says that the cost per square meter now is 2,228 per square meter. Yeah. Is that not it? Yeah. Yes. So if we do basic mathematics, I was not good in mathematics in school, but I still retain some basic mathematics skills. Okay? If you do basic mathematics and you multiply that figure, you will see that you are going towards 200 and something thousand, 200 something million, what do you call it, United States dollars. So clearly, the figure that is out there in relation to the contract sum haven't moved to 222 million is accurate.
It's consistent.
Yes, consistent. Now this is a contract. This is a contract that the governor himself in his press briefing said that when they submitted their proposal, they wanted to construct it at $100 million. Okay? And that the PPA unfairly reduced it to $81 million. How did it happen that when you applied to Tender Review Committee, finally you were awarding this contract at $121 million? How did that happen?
So this was his quote.
Secondly,
that the Public Procurement Authority, by a letter dated 29th January 2020, conveyed the board's approval to the Bank of Ghana. This approval to use the shortlisted contractors for the restricted tender also revised downwards the estimated cost of the project from a little over $100.8 million to $81.8 million without any justification.
Exactly. So that's the first point. How did a contract that you yourself proposed to execute with 100 million, all of a sudden, within the same year, that is 2020, get revised to $121 million? When the PPA said the contract should be 81 million, you proposed 100 million, and subsequently, that same contract was revised to 121 million. This is a contract that is denominated in dollars. It's not in CD, so that you say that because you have mismanaged, the CD and then it has been devalued, the contract sum has to jump. This is a contract denominated in dollars. Secondly, now the contract has jumped from 121 million to 222 million. And you are telling us that this is because you went for a revision of the scopes of work. And the scope now exceeds 73,000.
73, yes.
73,000. So it has moved from 73,000 to 100,000 square meters. That is an addition of 27,000 square meters. Okay? Now, if that happens, then it means that you have increased the scope of work by about 26%. If you have increased the scope of work by about 26%, I expect your price to correspondingly increase by about 26%. That's not what has happened. What has happened is that the price has increased by 84%. Even though you have a 26% increase in the scope of works. So you have a contract that is 73,000 square meters, priced at 121 million United States dollars. Then you increase it from 73,000 square meters to 100,000 square meters. And the price has increased to 7.7 million. Look at the percentage increase from 121 to 222. So the price jump cannot be explained using the increased scope of works.
So that's a little over $100 million.
Yes, and the same man tells us that we should use the square meters. He himself said it. We are not the ones saying it. He said that we should use square meters. And he says that if you look at the project, the statement, he says project cost is $2,068 per square meter. This is the governor himself. This is the governor himself. So even if it is $2,068 per square meters, and you have 100,000 square meters, your price should be $206,800,000 square meters.
$8 million.
Dollars.
It's $206.8 million.
$206.8 million. So how did you get to $222 million? How did you get that? What happened to the extra $15.9 million addition to that price? Because the statement is clear. He says that the price is $2,068,000 per square meter. That's what the governor himself said. It's there. It's in his statement.
Yes.
I'm not making it up.
Yes.
And he says that the project size is 100,000 square meters. So tell me how, when you multiply 2,068 by 100,000, you get 222 million. How did you get that?
I thought I saw beyond 100,000. My phone is gone up because my understanding is that it's 114,000 square meters.
Yes,
I read
it's over 100,000.
Yes, it's over. I mean, I'm
it
against
doesn't
the
matter.
Bank of Ghana.
It doesn't.
Money printing and
it doesn't matter. Even if you say that it's
so here's the quote. Here's the quote from the statement from the Bank of Ghana.
Why is he not accurate about the figure?
Emphasis. And it's a point that you make. This design and cost reviews.
Yes.
Under that heading.
Yes.
It says the initial design proposals projected a gross floor area of 73,000 square meters with the following detail: 25-story tower block, 4-story car park facility, 2-level basement, and an auditorium. Then the need to reconfigure the spatial requirements in order to meet all relevant statutory requirements and functionality of the building resulted in modification of the initial design concept to the current gross floor area in excess of 100,000 square meters.
Yes,
the project consists of 3 main blocks, namely the tower, urban, and amenities blocks, including basement, podium, and ancillary facilities. So they talk about 20-story tower block, urban block 8-story, amenities block 6-story, and goes on and on and on.
Yeah, exactly. So the point really is, why hasn't he told us specifically how many square meters
it's about
is the building?
114,000.
So even if you took 114,000 square meters, okay, it is obvious that the percentage increase in square meters does not correspond to the percentage increase in the price. Never. You can never relate the two. Absolutely impossible to relate the two. And that is why he is careful in his statement. He has nowhere in the statement given us the recent revised price of the project. And that is a major issue.
So this the $121 million that he quoted is as of 2020.
2020. That was the contract award sum.
So as of 2023,
when he himself says that the project was revised, the scope was revised in excess of 100,000 square meters, he refuses to give us the total sum of the project. That is because he is hiding something. He is shy, he is embarrassed, he is ashamed to mention the actual contract sum in his own statement. So he tells us that, the contract sum, what they call it, it is 2,068, 1,000 square meters, and it is in excess of 100,000 square meters. Specifically, how many square meters is it? So that we can multiply your $2,068,000 by that figure to arrive at the current contract sum. Because we are also holding letters from the Ministry of Finance Tender Review Committee that has approved a revision of the scope and then a corresponding revision of the price to above $222.7 million United States dollars for the same project. that you yourself conceived initially to use 100 million, and which PPA told you that you should use only 81 million.
We'll come
and you
back
think
to
that we are
this.
satisfied with your explanation and that you have explained this sufficiently?
There's more. We'll come
There are
back to
other
it because
issues,
there
and I
are
have a
other
tall
questions
list of-
that you
I have a
raised.
tall list of issues.
Don't lose your thoughts because I'll come back to Lawyer Martin Gbebo as well. Let's cross over to the NPP headquarters, Director of Elections of the that's the Electoral Commission. I beg your pardon. That's Dr. Sribo Kweko is talking. Take a look.
Before 1 p.m. Even if voting is done before 1 p.m.
We are ending vote at 1, so nobody can open the box before 1 o'clock.
Okay. What is the guarantee that the ballot would not be tracked to the person who voted or who come here to vote?
We have put in place mechanism which I will not discuss to you, but there's no way anybody can do that.
But Doc, I'm curious. I mean, you said that I know that the register, you didn't compile the register. In the event that some individuals come here and they are unable to find their name in the register, how do you resolve the matter?
They're unable.
Yeah, unable, of course. I mean, there are problems with the register.
They are not part of the voting.
And what's the process for proxy voting?
They apply to the party, so they have indicated on the register those who are voting by proxy. So assuming you are a delegate, if you are not a delegate, you cannot accept proxy. So if you are the person who is to vote the proxy, it will mean that you can be clear for 2 at a time. So you vote for yourself and you vote for the proxy.
Again, that clarity. If you're not a delegate,
you cannot be appointed as a proxy.
Okay.
If you qualify to vote, that's the law. If you are not a voter, you cannot vote for proxy.
Which of the regions has the highest or the least, or in the numbers of the numbers of delegates on their register from the top?
I know the head office has 202, and the least is Northeast 29.
All right, thank you very much, Doctor.
Any amendment is it becomes necessary.
This is your election command center, and so we'll be crossing intermittently, as you've seen the 2 instances gone by, to give you updates of the NPP's national, the Super Delegates Conference to reduce the numbers of the flag bearer hopefuls. Martin Gbebo, on the issue of the cost, because there are other areas, okay, that the governor's statement, which was more of a direct response to Mama Yaraga's statement to him, asking him a number of questions. That element of the percentage analysis, if you look at it, if at the time the initial square meters of this particular project as communicated was 73,000, and at that time the estimated cost of the project was 121 million. Let's go with your figure of, say, 114,000 square meters, the revised square meter size. Now we're hearing 200, in fact, we're seeing in a letter, which I also have a copy of, some $222,799,760. That's a jump of over $100 million with just an increase in the square meters of just about 20 to 30,000 square meter increase. Does that not raise fundamental questions about a lot more clarity as to how the cost increased from this 121 to a little over 220 million, as we're seeing now, if you compare that to the increase in the square meter size of 73,000 to 114,000 square meters?
Okay, absolutely, Mr. Okansi. So, meaning that, as for explanations, yes, more explanations will help immensely, right? Yes, more explanations will help. And once you say more explanations, then we will be better informed to be able to make more judgments. So let me separate this. Yes, I'm holding the central bank governor responsible for breaching the Act 918 when he exceeded the 5% and didn't go to inform Parliament directly. Okay, that's, you are looking at the section 30, subsection this is 7. I'm holding him responsible for that and the subsequent inflation and everything, right? So, but it doesn't look like there will be more time to discuss that. But on the matter of the building, Me, because the cost per this in square meter, that's the unit cost, is cheaper than even the average. You see, there's a book. Oh, I brought it. I was on another platform. I talked to somebody in building who educated me. And once I saw that the cost per square meter is far cheaper than even private sector buildings, since then I've been careful about this building. I've been careful. As Honorable, I'll come and support you on that day. I'll be part of the demo on breaching the Bank of Ghana Act that he should go, but not on the building. The building there, because the unit, the cost is far cheaper.
Let me tell you.
It's far cheaper.
Not, before you proceed,
yes.
Let me show you how it is not far cheaper. He says that the comparative cost is about 2,658. Okay. 58. Good. Yes, that book, I have it. Remember that his cost is without tax.
Oh, and those ones who they are without tax.
Oh, no.
Oh, I have the book in my car. I have a copy.
They are not without tax.
It's without tax. In the industry, I've spoken to an expert on this matter.
Right.
And secondly, the bigger the size, is that okay? The price comes down. Show me a comparable building here in Ghana. Show me a comparable building that is that size.
Excellent.
Because the bigger the size, the bigger the size, the
EcoBank, Zenith, and all they are smaller. They don't compare to this.
Exactly.
This
so that is why
they don't.
That's why the unit cost of this one should be much cheaper.
They don't compare.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Kansi, so because the unit cost is cheaper, yes, we can ask Governor Addison to come with more explanations. But so far, the unit cost is cheaper than even those smaller buildings. You see the EcoBank one, you see the Zenith, you see the UBA, you see the World Bank. All of them cost far more than this. And also this one at 2,068 is cheaper than the average cost, which is 2,658. So I'm acting based on information. It's what you put before me. I have seen the book. I talked to an expert and I said, okay, well, then I'll stay away from the building. But as for holding the governor responsible, we'll hold him for the breach of the Bank of Ghana Act. And also let's know that this building, the cost of it is less than 5% of the 60.8 billion we've lost. So Governor Addison, that 60.8 billion, how come you sat down, you didn't notify our parliamentarians? And that's why we'll hold you. Giving last year he gave government what 40-something billion. Even if you use the lowest one, 42 or 40, it exceeds more than 5% of the previous year's revenue. The previous year we raised about 47 billion. I think last year we raised 75 billion. The previous year it was about 67 or thereabout. But giving 40-something billion in 2022 to government is far in excess of 5% of the previous year's revenue. And the IMF even accepts it, that has contributed to the inflation. So are we coming to the demo because of the inflation and the suffering, the hunger, blah, 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 but not the building?
But how do you respond to how do you respond to Kwame Pianim's position on this particular issue? You just raised that the governor would communicate the decision to suspend the Fiscal Responsibility Act to the Finance Minister. The Finance Minister has that ultimate responsibility of telling Parliament the details of why the Bank of Ghana has done so, which has resulted in what we're talking about, plus also the participation, the full details of the Bank of Ghana's participation in the domestic debt exchange program, that according to the governor, and those giving details of how the 60.8 billion cedis was recorded was because about a little over 55 billion was as a result of the domestic debt exchange program. Says that the finance minister failed to do so. So he is the one who has to take the bullet of who has to resign. You would answer that question. Let's cross over quickly to the Ashanti region. Briefly, to the Ashanti region, my colleague William Evans Inkum is at the polling center in the Ashanti region, KNUST Law Faculty. Let's cross over and hear from him.
Well, so Alfred, a very good morning to you. We are live from the Faculty of Law here at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Of course, it's a big day for the ruling New Patriotic Party. This is the special delegate Congress. And over here, we're expecting approximately 119 delegates. And of course, they are coming from 47 constituency chairmen. We also understand that we have 43 MPs, And of course, we also have some numbers coming from the regional executives, I understand it's 17. Then we also have the National Council, and of course, founding fathers. So they formed approximately 119 delegates who are supposed to go through the process here. I can tell you that voting has started in earnest, and of course,
a lot of people didn't pay attention to that.
Processes before you can get to the main polling station. So from coming here, what I realized was that we have about 3 barricades, and they're all being manned by the police. So you have to go through them, and at every checkpoint, you are, subjected to some level of rigorous, exercising before you go through each barricade, and just to ensure that there's absolute sanity as far as this particular process is concerned. Even the delegate who was supposed to go through the process, you have to be subjected to some level of search before you go through the process. So far, it has been very smooth here from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm unable to tell you as to how many people have so far voted, because it is only the delegates who are getting through the final stage to the polling center and then go through the process of voting. It is only the delegates. So as you can see, not even the media or a journalist is allowed to enter. That is, if you have no business in there, you are not supposed to cross into the inner perimeter where the Electoral Commission, has mounted, a stage, or I'm talking about the materials for each delegate to go through the process. So currently, we have a number of MPs who are trooping in to go through the process. For instance, not too long ago, we saw the Member of Parliament for Tubing constituency, Eugene Boashi, just arrived together with the Member of Parliament for the Asante Achim North constituency, and use Apia Kobe. So this is it. Well, you will have to be checked first, and exactly that is what we are saying here by the police, and nobody is exempted, no matter your caliber, no matter your status. When you get here, you have to be subject to some level of rigorous check, just to be sure that you are not carrying any foreign material. The most important thing, as was stated in the statement issued by the ruling New Patriotic Party, you are not supposed to capture whoever that you are going to vote for. That is, if you enter the booth, and that's the final process for you to cast your vote, you are not supposed to capture and show to the public that, hey, I have voted for candidate A or candidate B. And that is also something that the police is also very critical on. So, yes, you have to go through some level of
very much, William Evans Inkum. Appreciate these updates from the KNUST Law Faculty. This is your election command center. That's the voting center in the Ashanti region for the superdelegates. And before we went for that quick insert, Lawyer Matikpebo was asking that specific question about Kwame Pienim's position, that asking the governor to go, in his view, it's not going to really address the fundamental issue that we're talking about. If anybody has to take that bullet, it has to be the finance minister, because he failed to communicate the details of the level of involvement, the extent of involvement of the Bank of Ghana in the domestic debt exchange program, which, according to the central bank, was the major the major reason why they posted this over 60.8 billion cedis loss as at the end of 2022.
Yes, Mr. Kansi, Mr. Pienim has done very well in recent times. I like the way he, contributes to, these matters of governance, economics, everything. He's done extremely well, and he must be commended, because there are lots of people of his age who are rather content on trying to get freebies from this current administration, and so they will not speak, they will not say anything against this administration. So Mr. Pienim must be commended. Okay, but on the matter of the law, I disagree with him. The law is very clear that the governor himself must also go to parliament. So there is provision for the governor to go, and provision for the finance minister should also go.
So the governor
two channels
can go to,
yes, must. So let me read the provision. It says, so I'm talking about section 30 of Act 612 as amended. So the amendment is in Act 918. So the 918 amends the original act. So the 918 says that amend section 30 of 612 in its by adding its subsection 7 as follows.
This is a Bank of Ghana Act.
Yes. So Bank of Ghana has 2 acts, 612, then 918. So 918 subsection 7 says, where the total of loans, advances, purchases of treasury bills, and securities made under subsection 1 is 5% of the previous fiscal year's total revenue, the governor shall notify the minister and parliament.
Shall.
Yes, and parliament of the attainment of the limit under subsection 2. Then it goes on. Then it further says that the minister too, after governor is informed him, the minister should also go to parliament. Please, the two have different reasons. It's not like you just go and say, oh, parliament, this is the threshold, then you go away. No, each time you go, there will be questions and answers. Honorable is here, they will grill you. And so don't just think that if you inform the minister and the minister goes, then you don't have to go. No, don't forget, the governor under Article 184, the governor must constantly report to the Finance Committee of Parliament on receipts, payments, transfers. Parliament is supposed to regulate Bank of Ghana, watch how it is done. So if you sit there and say, no, he just tells finance minister and finance minister should go, you are wrong. The law is very clear. And Honorable, thank you, says it. He's not just going, oh, I've reached 5%, so this is it, and he's going back. No, he has to answer. They will grill him. And what is made of it? How is it composed? How can we avoid this in subsequent years? And so it's a conversation. The governor is accountable to Parliament. He is accountable not only in 30 clause, subsection 7, but also under Article 184. So you put them together. And look, 1,001 Supreme Court decisions tell you that in Ghana, our governance, we want transparency, we want probity, accountability, etc. So please, in practice, look, Google, you go to the US, you see Jerome Powell, the lawyer, the governor there, he's a lawyer stroke investment banker. He goes to Congress. Sometimes he gets it wrong, then they bash him. He and Donald Trump fighting. You see that in 2019, he was increasing interest rates. And then Donald Trump was like, no, he's even regretted nominating Jerome Powell. But later, 2020, when things started moving on well, he said, oh, the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, is done well. Have you seen Addison fight with Akufo-Addo? As soon as you saw them agreeing, not fight, then you knew that there was trouble. Because look, by 2019, by the end of 2019, we were dead distressed. We were dead distressed. So does that mean anything to you, Addison? Does that mean anything to you? And when Akufo-Addo came in 2017, it was on the mantra that we're moving from what? Taxation to production. So Governor Addison, for each year that we continued importing so much rice, for each year that we're importing oil, chicken, all those, it should have been clear to you that we're going in for trouble. And the act is very clear, the Bank of Ghana Act. It says that the Bank of Ghana is advisor on fiscal policies.
To government.
Yes, advice on fiscal policy. So you can't fold your hands and say, oh, fiscal policies, you have no hands. Then why did they make the law? Addison must go. This one is
they
very
can't
clear.
deal with just monetary.
No. The governor, the Bank of Ghana is advisor to government on fiscal policies. It's there. It's there in the Act 612. So Addison just has to go. He's failed us. Look, we pay so much for your foresight. We pay so much for your foresight, and so you've lost it. Exactly. Say it again, Honorable. How? Look, you go to secondary school. Let me ask you.
Let Lawyer Martin Bebo finish.
I'm saying that we buy them gold watches.
Lawyer Martin Bebo
so we expect the golden performance.
Mama Yarza, yes.
So look, the last point is that even can you imagine when he came out, we've been complaining about printing of money. And he came and said, government is not printing money. Then I was like, Governor Addison, what is it? Do you not understand the meaning of printing money? In secondary school, 30-something years ago, I was taught printing money. When the central bank gives money to government, what is it? It's printing. Why do you say so? If you want, you can explain and say, oh, it's not fiscal printing, but in this case, we gave money. He said they didn't print money.
Which is the financial terminology.
Yes, printing money. When you give quantitative easing and all those, they are printing money. When the governor did that, they said, oh, this is incompetence. It's incompetent like Governor Wampa in the NDC administration. He should just go. Addison must go. The incompetence is too much. Printing, common meaning of printing of money. you can't explain it well to citizens. You are busy telling, because when you even do that, you confuse secondary school, what do you call it, economic students about what the meaning of printing of money is.
After their teacher has
Exactly, because that's where we learn.
Mr. Thompson, so
thank
you as a former deputy managing director of the National Investment Bank, and you see how things are playing out, plus the responses of the governor of the central bank, which we have seen quite clearly that first of all, that figure giving for the building is as of 2020, 121 million. He didn't give any updates of the revised cost of the building as of today, 2023. Now we have a letter that gives details of what the building revised cost is as we speak. The total contract sum of $222,799,760 million. Plus this concern by Kwame Pianim. Let's deal with the building matter first, and then we'll go to the Kwame Pianim's position that Martin Kpebu vehemently disagree with. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. I think Honorable Ayaga dealt with the building and Martin dealt with it, so you have to give me enough time to deal with both of them. I'll start with the building first. First of all, I want to state categorically that NDC should see and know better than anybody else that with security and financial institutions, you have to be extra cautious and not just go on public display and rampage and say that, oh, because they are putting up a new building, because they are doing this or they are doing that, it means that there's something fishy or there's something wrong. Bank of Ghana cannot give you full details or full disclosure of certain security aspects within the building.
But I'm not talking about the details of the security. We're talking about the cost.
I'm building a point.
And what led to the cost.
I'm building a point. They cannot give you full details of certain security aspects within. And that is why you realize that even whilst they were looking at putting all these together, the companies involved were not given the full disclosure of what they are going to do and how much. And so it had to go back and forth. And that is why when you read Addison's statement, he had to go back to PPA to move it from the 81,000 to the 121 as stated. Now, when you come to the building,
21 million.
121 million, sorry, not 1,000. When you come to the building itself, you realize that it includes everything, machinery, everything that they are looking at, putting it in a movable state that when they move in, everything will be there. NDC was complaining. When they started going on the tangent that in this era that you are going to IMF, or we have gone to IMF, why put up this building? Then Governor Addison came to respond that, listen, this building did not start yesterday. It even started looking for a new building for the, for the head office. Started as far back as 1990. That was when they started seeking and sitting on board and approving. To the extent that even when their leader in minority was part of the board, they had to approve for them to even pay certain people to give them land acquisition for putting up a new building, which did never materialized. Okay. That put aside.
But then we also on that, he also stated that the president, this current president, gave executive instrument.
That's what I'm coming. That's what I'm coming to.
The purchase of this land.
And that is a state land. SIC.
Where this is.
Yes.
For the
it used to be for
of this land.
Insurance company, state SIC. It used to be for SIC, and they had to purchase it to move this new place there. So it didn't go through all those the agents and all the other things that they had to go and pay some commission here and there, because whatever you go and do, once
the executive approval.
Once the agent goes, once the agent goes, you pay the agents. They are paid several agents under the NDC type. They paid several agents, and it's on record.
You say
it's
several,
not as if,
how many?
At least I know two, and once it's two or more, it's several. At least I know two, and once you have two or more, it's several. So they cannot come out and come and play the holy arts thou here. Even in their time, when they were looking for this head office, and when things were so difficult that they went to IMF, they built a hospital. They built 2 executive houses, one in Takrady, one in Tamale, for the governor and his the bank. So what are they talking about? Let us not behave this way. And that is why I keep on, it hurts me when NDC of all people who should know, being led by someone who has been a deputy finance minister, should know better than what they are doing. It is sad. It is very, very, very sad. And they should stop that.
During that period that they built these projects, they built
the hospital. When they went to IMF, they built the hospital. They built a guest house in Takrady, executive one, and another guest house in Tamale.
What was the state of the central bank at the time?
At that time, it was in a state that they had to go to IMF.
No,
when they took over, let me give you analysis. Let me give you analysis. You want to know the state.
What was the state of the central bank at the time when the Bank of Ghana Hospital was built and
so now you want me to come into the 5%. Let me give you the analysis.
I will ask the specific. Were they posting losses or profit?
And when the central bank started putting up this building, was it posting losses? When they started 3 or 4 years ago, were they posting losses?
Governor
they were not posting losses. When they started this project, when you are going to start a project, and let me tell you, with a bank and a financial institution, when you are going to start such a project, you make available the funding. So the funding was put aside for this particular project because you can't start and finish and stop in middle way that I don't have funding for it. And when Governor Addison, the government gave them the executive approval to do this, funding was made available. Money was there. They were posting profits. At that time, government was not, they were not even sponsoring government on the, what do you call it? Giving government overdraft. As NDC took the whole of the time they were in power. From 2008 to 2016, 2015 that they started, they went to the IMF, so they couldn't get in 2016 the overdrafts from government. So where are they coming from? Where are they going to? Let us not play hypocrisy here and start behaving as if because I want power, I have to bring down our institution, I have to bring down Governor Addison. It is wrong.
In the interest of transparency, and then also for the Ghanaian public to know the specific detail of why the cost has risen. And bear in mind, the initial square meter of 73,000, at that time, the estimated cost in 2020 was $121 million for 73,000 square meters. If the square meters has been revised upwards to 114,000, and then the also cost has increased to $222.7 million, don't you think that the Ghanaian people deserve explanation on why this cost has risen that much?
You will say Ghanaian people deserve an explanation. That is why when I started, I told you that Central Bank is the financial institution of all financial institutions. And it works on the monetary policy of this country, as well as the fiscal that they advise government and support government with, because the monetary cannot go without the fiscal. 2, it's a security institution that is supposed to address and look at certain things that are quite critical to the growth and stability of this nation. When Governor Addison was taking certain decisions, was it for the stability of this nation? Yes, it was for the stability. Do we want to behave and look like a Zimbabwe that had inflation of over 1,000%? He didn't want that to happen to this country. And that's why he had to take a decision.
We'll go for this quick break. We'll be back and deal with some responses to this matter. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. This is Key Point.
Jackpot of the week. Place bets and hit the jackpot. Log into the OneXBet account. Click on the Take Part button, place bet, and take part in the jackpot draw. Give your luck a chance. Use promo code to get a bonus on your first deposit.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gambling can be addictive.
Life can get hectic, and sometimes we forget to prioritize our well-being. That's where Vano Mineral Water steps in. A refreshing solution packed with essential minerals, Vano Mineral Water keeps you hydrated and balanced. Whether you're at home or work,
Venom Mineral Water is there to keep you going. Don't let a busy schedule hinder your health. Make Venom Mineral Water a part of your daily routine. Share the love with Venom Mineral Water, the choice for a healthy, vibrant you.
This advert is FDA approved.
Get ready to enjoy the 11th edition of the innovative Ghana Garden and Flower.
Down on another just because they have the virus.
Oh, and the Tower of Babylon.
Yes, great! Have you ever shot your shot at a reality TV star in the DM?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
No. Would you?
Yes.
The Ladies Circle shows this Saturday at 6 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Yaz Sanitary Pad,
Onga,
Circle,
Vita,
MTN,
Woodin,
Nivea, for your shade of beautiful.
This Saturday on Fisheries Eye at 6:55 p.m. on TV3. Unveil the harsh realities faced by vulnerable girls in Keji, a tranquil fishing community nestled within the Keta municipality of the Volta region. Cases of teenage pregnancy have shed light on a deeply concerning issue: how financial struggles drive young lives to the edge. Fisheries Eye brings to our viewers the harrowing experiences of marginalized voices in our fishing communities where dreams meet challenges. This and every Friday and Saturday at 6:55 p.m. only on TV3. Fisheries Eye is funded by the USAID from the American people.
Are you a great FIFA player? Do you think you can beat anyone and be the very best in Ghana? The Warmer Plus Esports Festival is here to give you an experience. Join us at the forecourt of TV3. It will be a battle for supremacy in FIFA. Come around, let's smash it on the table tennis, football and a snooker table. Kick about with family and friends. Music, food and many more.
To run it through, Griezmann! Oh, it's there! And he has won FIFA World Cup.
So join us on this ride. It is the Warmer Plus Esports Festival, happening on 2nd September 2023. Powered by 3 Sports.
And this is your Election Command Center. Let's cross over to my colleague Roland Walker, who is at the party headquarters where there's a special polling center there, where we understand some 201 super delegates would be casting their ballots there. Roland, what's happening there? And we would connect with Roland Walker shortly. And remember, we are in all 16 regions here on your Election Command Center, gauging what's happening in all the polling centers. We're going to show you the polling centers in all the 16 regions shortly. The Greater Accra region has 2 because the national headquarters has also been designated as a special polling center where ministers and the national executive of the party and others would be casting their ballots as well. And then that has the highest number of delegates. Let's hear from Roland Walker now. Hello, Roland. So, apologize for that technical hitch. Would rectify that and connect with Roland Walker, who has given us updates from the national headquarters of the NPP and to also find out what is happening there, and then also give us some further detail as well of how things are playing out. Roland.
Party. More importantly, we would want to tell you what some of the critical issues are. Now, we also do know that we have a little over 200 delegates who will be voting at the headquarters of the ruling party, and that has been expressly earlier expressed by the Director of Election for the Electoral Commission of Ghana. And so far, the voting process has been smooth. Security has been very much topmost, and you can find that there are many security details, and I'm told that this is a replication of the structure of security you have in many of the voting areas. Now, it also means that before you even come in, there's a certain barricade that has been instituted, and so without a proper identification, you will not be in a position to make entry into the perimeter that will allow you to make entry into the national headquarters to be voting. So if you're not a media personnel, you're not an observer, you're not an agent of any of the individuals who are contesting as a presidential aspirant in this super delegate election, which especially according to their constitution is expected to pull down the number as we have it from now 10 to 5. You have no business being there. Now, I have Mr. Nimako, and Mr. Nimako as well as the former chair of the party, and Evans is also the director of elections for the MPP. And Mr. Nimako, how are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
It's a commendable way you've structured this election so far. Now, give us an overview. What really were some of the dialogues, the discussions that saw what you are replicating today?
Well, thank you. I think that the party took the decision to engage and consult extensively with the key stakeholders, i.e. our presidential candidates, the Electoral Commission, and the Ghana Police Service. We realized that for us to have a successful special electoral college, we need to identify the key issues and address them. And in getting the solution, we've all been part of it, and I think that what we are seeing today is the product of the deep consultation that happened among the stakeholders.
And so give us a certain sense of how the distribution of the delegates are region by region. Maybe you can start with the ones that you are aware, the topmost, and then the least across the country, if you can.
Well,
just estimated numbers.
Yeah, I'll do my best. I think that anyway, told that, but then we have 955 delegates voting across. Here at the headquarters, we have 203 people voting. We have 118 of them voting in Ashanti region. Northern region, we have 51. Somewhere northeast, we have 30. Greater Accra have 55. Greater Accra will have 82. Yes, and so and Eastern region, I think 82, and so that is it. But in all, we have 955 people voting today.
So the structure of the counting and then also the ultimate declaration is what?
Well, at the end of the exercise, at the close of poll, which is 1 p.m., the EC will do what we call the ballot accounting. Will count the results, assign results to candidates, fill the elections result sheets, and then give copies to all the agents. The EC will then electronically transmit the results to its headquarters, where they will do the collation. That means the results from all the 17 voting centers will be collated at the EC headquarters, and then the EC will come to the party headquarters here at Salam Down to give us the announcement, the final announcement of the first 5 that would have been voted by the college.
I'm getting news, and gotten it over the last 2 weeks that there are some delegates or either executives in Sunyani East who were told that they're embroiled in some level of legality, and so they're arguing they couldn't take part in today's election. Is that true? And then how are you resolving that?
Well, the Legal and Constitutional Committee has been charged to take responsibility to ensure that we resolve this issue amicably. The elections today you can only mention the constituency chairman who will be part of the regional executive committee. So it's not the entirety of the executives of Sunyani East which is under contention. So that issue will be handled by the Legal and Constitutional Committee.
Did you concern yourself with the politics of the election as well, where we had the number of the delegates overwhelmingly declaring support publicly, or that is allowed by the elections committee of the party?
What we are doing today is politics. We are doing our internal politics, our internal elections, and it's politics. We've put in place measures to ensure that we conduct free, fair, and transparent elections, and so that's what we're doing. Beyond that, the committee will not engage itself in issues not before us, and I think to a large extent we've carried all stakeholders along. We are satisfied for now. Well, the agreement we've had. We are still urging our presidential aspirants to contain their supporters. In any case, they all expect the New Patriotic Party to win elections 2024, and I can assure you, at the end of today, the 5 that the college will elect, we will finally elect the presidential candidate in November 4, 2023. That candidate is going to be the next president of Ghana. That candidate is going to beat the NDC's presidential candidate because we've gone into elections with him. We were there in 2012, 2016, and 2020. And 2024, the New Patriotic Party's presidential candidate is going to win handsomely because the party has grounds in all polling stations, electoral area, and constituency across the country.
If we're talking about the November election, that also mean that'll be concerning how many of the delegates in number and in total, and how do you intend organizing that? Same way?
That one will be done at the constituency level. And that we're calling is a national congress that is decentralized at the constituency level. We are looking at all polling station executives in all the 38,622 polling stations. We are looking at all the electoral area coordinators in the 6,272 electoral areas. We are looking at 17 constituency executives by 275, 17 regional executives by 16. You are looking at the National Council members, National Executive Committee members, our external branch bringing 12 delegates. So it's going to be a sizable number, and that will determine who will be the presidential candidate for the party.
Well, thank you very much. And that's Evans Nimako. Evans Nimako giving us an update of all the things that we need to expect. But the answer is we're again at the headquarters of the New Patriotic Party, and it's where security is very much topmost. Of course, the media has been giving some level of security, but security has entirely been provided. Security has been entirely provided for this event, also meaning before you make entry into the perimeter, you're not in a position without an ID, an identifiable ID. So for example, media personnel have been made to show the ID. If you're an observer, you're a delegate, etc., once you have the proper identification, you're in a position to do that, and so it helps everybody else, for all of us to be able to know the delineation of roles, who's supposed to do that. But the way it is, we'll see how it goes. But again, we're live from the headquarters. We're live from the headquarters of the New Patriotic Party. So I have Mr. McMenu right here, but the way it is, we have to go back to the studio.
All right. Roland Walker, thank you very much. And this is your Election Command Center, bringing you a comprehensive coverage of the NPP's Super Delegates Congress, meant to reduce the numbers of the presidential hopefuls, that's the flag bearer hopefuls, from 10 to 5 after the party amended its constitution after the 2007 episode where they had 17 people putting themselves up to lead the party as its flag bearer. They amended the constitution and put Article 13(9) there that demands that if you have more than 5, or if the party has more than 5 people putting themselves up to lead the party as its flag bearer, they would organize this special or super delegates congress to reduce the numbers to 5. There are some people who do not agree with this particular structure because they think that those who would fall out today, if the delegates' size had been expanded, maybe they would go through. But 961 delegates are going to take part in the super delegates congress today. In no particular order, we're going to try the best we can to give you a summarized profile of the persons who are putting themselves up. 10 of them, right? Kennedy Agyapong, we know, picked number 1. This is Kennedy Agyapong's quick, brief profile. Member of Parliament for Asin Central, previously Member of Parliament for the Asin North constituency, and eventually when the constituency was also demarcated into 2, now we have Asin Central. Is a first-time contestant of the flag bearership of the NPP, and he has been described as an upset candidate, that there's a strong indication that he's going to cause an upset in this particular contest because of the anti-establishment kind of approach that he has taken and raising openly and publicly his concerns about some of the issues within the party that he is not happy about, and within government as well that he is not happy about. So Agyapong has a mass following of the people as well who also think the same way. You can talk about another anti-establishment candidate in this particular contest as Kwabena Agyapong, which will be coming into shortly. But Boakye Agyarko Kyerematen, he's a banker, former Minister of Energy, his second time contesting, as a matter of fact. Let's put it on record that in 2007, he was one of the 17 people who wanted to lead the party. He got 10 votes, and that's 0.44%. Now, fast forward, he was appointed Minister of State and then eventually resigned from government. And we know all the issues that led to his resignation. There's some description that because of how he exited government, and that may go against him. But then again, he's been able to weave his way around that particular situation and also won the hearts of many within the party as well, and that gives him the confidence why he's putting himself up to lead the party. Let's see if the second try that he is putting himself up would work for him. This is the former Minister of Agric. This is his first time contesting the flag bearership of the NPP, former Member of Parliament for the Kwadaso constituency. Now, this man is championing this whole campaign on the basis of using agriculture as a catalyst for growth. Now, a lot of people make reference to his period or tenure as a Greek minister and whether it had any significant impact in the agricultural sector. He's said to be one person who is very, very close to the president, for that matter, that the president has indicated quite openly that he is not supporting any candidate. But for as long as he has a vote, you can know that he's voting for someone today. Dr. Kofi Konadu Apreko, economist, international civil servant, former Member of Parliament of Finsu constituency, former Minister of Trade, and then also many other portfolios that he's held. This is the third time he's contesting for the flag bearership of the NPP. In 1998, in 2007, he was part of the 17, and then this year, 2023. In 1998, he polled 52 votes. And then also in 2007, he polled 19 votes, right? Now, he says that that fortune is going to change and that he will increase his votes. And in fact, he's confident that he's going to go through to be part of the 5 who would come out of today. That's Dr. Kofi Konadu Apreko. I want to take a listen to President Akufo-Addo on his way to cast his vote. Take a look.
You're not convinced.
Some say they are not convinced by the message. They want you to walk the talk.
But at the same time, there's some calling for me to endorse their candidates. There's some who are calling for me to endorse their candidates. I haven't endorsed anybody. The election is not mine. If I had, I would decide it. I don't decide it. It's the delegates in our party that decide it.
Mr. President, Ghanaians say they are not happy with the way conditions are. They are tired. They are suffering.
It's difficult. I'm the first to admit it. I've said it several times. I'm the first to admit it. But at the end of the day, I believe that when the moment comes, Ghanaians will reflect on who best can get us out of these difficulties and take us to the next stage. That is the new patriotic party.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.
The party will coalesce around the new leader who will then be able to lead us in a unified manner to the election of 2020.
Mr. President, please, are you telling the delegates to vote for Sam Aspro?
So that's President Akufo-Addo there. He's one of the 201 delegates who will be voting at the party headquarters. But take a listen to Kennedy Agyapong as well, just before he cast his ballot earlier today. Take a look.
Especially in this region, everybody knows what I've done. I've always taken care of the region. See, I know they'll look at my commitment to the region and reward me. And the moment I get a massive vote here, it means I'm within the 5. Then after that, other regions as well. So the first 3, I'll be in.
Are you pleased with the organization so far?
I'm here to check. I'm here to check. You have 4 layers. Where you are, I know is the second layer. So I'm here to go to the 3rd layer, the 4th layer, where I'm going to vote. So, but so far so good, especially the election committee and also the national. They've done marvelous work, I must admit. You know, initially, there were a lot of intimidation and all those things. But whatever petition we gave them, they granted almost all of them for the sake of peace and unity. So far so good. And here, Central Region, you know we are a disciplined region. I don't expect anything bad to happen to embarrass us. And I'm not going to create any confusion here. We make sure we are one party. We vote anybody who wins. You know, we all come together and face NDC. So I don't have a problem.
Honorable, this is your home region. What number of the votes are you expecting to win at the end of the day?
Oh, at least I'll get 80%. No doubt about it. I'll get 80%. So we should be rest assured. Meaning they're going to honor me.
So there are 55
and my
delegates.
Commitment to the region. I think everybody you talk to, all the delegates, know what I've done for Central Region, and they think this is the time also to reward. So I know I'm going to get massive votes from Central. No doubt about it. No matter the amount they give them, no matter the intimidation, they have conscience and they know.
We remain your election command center, the Kennedy Agyapong, one of the 10. Kennedy Agyapong is actually number 1 on the ballot for this special delegates congress, or the super delegates to reduce the numbers. And then we have Alan Kojo Kyerematen, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and then also following up in that order, Dr. Owusu Afriyie-Akoto in the 5th position. Kwabena Agyapong 6th. The last 4 slots went to Francis Adai-Nimo, 7th position on the ballot paper. Dr. Kofi Konadu-Apreko, 8th. Boakye Kyerematen Agyarko, 9th. And then Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, 6th at the 10th position. When you look at the dynamics of this, what's happening now, 6 out of the 10 people who are seeking to lead the party, well, obviously will be reduced to 5 at the end of today, are from the Ashanti region. You have Alan Kyerematen, Dr. Owusu Afriyie-Akoto, Kwabena Agyapong, Francis Adai-Nimo, Dr. Kofi Konadu-Apreko. And especially the time that all of them spent and the dynamics that played out before today. Alfred, a quick one on this, your super delegates congress. and then we'll round up on all the issues.
Yes. I wish all 10 delegates well. Personally, you know where I stand, and I've stated over and over again. The fancies have an adage saying that all your obinizi na what your onusunezi. Dr. Bawumia has really worked hard for this party and for Nanado when he wanted to become president. We have another thing we say that
we wish them all well, and then you go to
okay. Until once he has worked hard, someone will come. Or I heard recently this week, one candidate's PR stating that we don't have any record to show or to showcase. I intentionally brought this book. This Ministry of Education alone, the projects we've done for the first 4 years of the government being in office. And that alone, you can see the volumes that, and it's all over. I mean, it's nothing that is hidden. So if you come and sit there and you tell me that you don't have any message, then you don't have any business leading the party. I believe that we have a lot of things we've done for this country. Yes, there are challenges. The mere fact that you have a global economic crunch doesn't mean that you throw your hands in despair. You still have to work to bring us out of the doldrums.
Are you narrowing down our problems to the global situation? You disagree with the IMF that there were inherent local situations that contributed to exacerbating the problem we are faced with as a country?
The IMF also stated categorically that there were serious global challenges that took us to this situation.
Indeed. I'm only saying that when you stated that you were silent about the local situation.
I stated that there is an global economic crunch, and that has also affected us.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that as human as we are, we don't have internal challenges. We have. But you don't throw your hands in despair.
Right.
You work to come out of the doldrums. And this is someone who has defended the party. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, he said, I'm standing by the party no matter what. That is a candidate you push because he believes in whatever we are doing and he feels and knows that we can do it. It is possible for us to come out of this. So why do I throw my hands in despair? Why do I stand there and say that everything is not going well? So I will tell you as a matter of fact that we've done marvelously well. To end on the BOG issue.
In 30 seconds.
Listen, the governor has done marvelously well for this place, for this bank. When he was taking over the reins of the governorship, we had our gold reserves. Since President Kufuor came into office, that was about 2 tons, and he moved it to 8.7 tons. The 8 years of NDC, they couldn't even move it from 8.7 tons to any other figure. But when he came, he took it from 8.7 tons to 15.1 tons. Today, as we speak, when they went to the BRICS, they are talking about gold being the reserves that could help, change the shape of everything that is going on in this world. It tells you that this man has foresight and he's moving the country and the government or the in the right direction.
Mama Yarga.
Well, I mean, before then, we had this issue about the shift in the square meters.
Indeed.
And there's a letter dated 17th of January 2023, Ministry of Finance, Central Tender Review, and in that letter, they approved 222,799,760, and they said they were approving it on the basis of $2,068 per square meters. So if you divided the amount they approved by the 2,068 square meters, you are going to get 107,730 square meters. So this is not materially different from the 100,000 square meters.
Right.
And so the percentage increase in square meters is 36.9%, and yet the percentage increase in the price is 84%. That is not in dispute. So I just want
while you round up and then also touch on the MPP.
Those are the facts.
Yes.
Those are the facts. Facts are facts.
You spoke about the MPP and the governor before you round up. So let Mama Yarga also speak.
The super delegates, clearly it's been fixed for somebody.
Oh, come on.
Super delegates has been fixed for somebody.
Was NDC
just look at the number of voters who are beholden in one way or the other to the establishment.
Mr. Thompson, please. Mr. Thompson, please.
Central region.
Let's round this up. We've been very civil throughout the last 3 hours. Okay, yes.
I'm saying that this super delegates thing has been fixed. First and foremost, let me tell you how it has been fixed. If you look at the number of voters who are either direct government appointees or are serving on boards, or are party leaders who are contractors, and their certificates are lying at the Ministry of Roads, Ministry of Works and Housing. That's how you know that. That's how you know that your latitude is limited. Now, the second issue is that you have just about 1,000 delegates, and then you are asking them to stay in their regions and vote. You see, it's very easy to intimidate the delegates if they stay in their regions and vote, because it becomes obvious which region voted against the establishment candidate, so that you can be penalized, you can be punished for going against the establishment. If you wanted a really fair superdelegates conference, you should have brought all of them to one location, so that they will vote in such a way that you cannot tell which region voted which way. The way it is, if you don't vote, according to the establishment interest, you will be punished. So it's been fixed. I'm telling you, I've been involved in these delegates too. So I know.
How many are you go to? Your final thoughts on this? The super delegates Congress of your party, finally.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Yeah. I think there has been a deliberate attempt the last 2 or 3 days to talk about comments that one of the spokespersons of Alan Tremanti is alleged to have said. And I'm surprised at this deliberate attempt to take it out of context completely, because we are all aware that the NDC, for example, made changes in Parliament. And one of the reasons they gave for the leadership was that they're going to fight this election on the economy. And therefore, they need somebody with some economic background to lead. I believe all the person was saying is that, yes, everything was working well until we got this IMF and World Bank, which had put us back to where, for example, the NDC were at the time we were lambasting them all over the place and saying that they've lost everything. So now, if we have gone back to the same place, what are we going to say again? That is the message. And I believe that's what the person is talking about. He's never said that nothing has worked. The whole of the 4 years, things worked well. Even before the Ukraine war and whatever, things were going. Then we went into downgrading. And thereafter, nothing has worked. So I do not think that this deliberate thing should be permitted to go without comment. Everybody just saying there's nothing to comment. But you know what she's talking about. So why just... Anyway, that's my comment.
Thank you very much. It's an immediate pass High Commissioner of Ghana to Canada, former Attorney General Niaiko Tosas, a member of the Alan Tremanti campaign team. Also to you, Alfred Thompson, thank you for coming. And Martin Pebu had to leave us at a point. And so to you, Mama Yarga, thank you so much for coming as well. Gentlemen, appreciate your time. And I am Alfred Okanse. The coverage continues here on Your Election Command Center. My colleague Bella Mundi takes over right after this quick break. Stay with us.
Rasta. What does Rasta really mean to the people? In today's episode of Rasta Vibration, this is what we're looking at. Rasta, what does it